Chapter 798. Under the gaze of dozens of cultivators, a monstrous fog rose at the end of the world, its length and width immeasurable, seemingly swallowing half the sky. In the endless darkness appeared a pair of terrifying eyes, like two blood moons, oppressive and eerie. Dozens of cultivators felt their hearts race with fear, but when the gallant silverbird's majestic form entered their sight, their terror instantly dissipated a great deal. The silver-white divine bird showed no fear. As its divine wings vibrated, it did not stir up winds, seeming not to belong to this world, making it appear all the more agile. Suddenly, the silver-white divine bird abruptly accelerated, transforming into a rainbow of 7 colors, charging into the massive black fog, causing the heavens and earth to erupt with dazzling radiance, compelling dozens of cultivators to instinctively close their eyes, unable to look directly ahead. Roar! A hysterical roar echoed in their ears, deafening, yet they were no longer afraid, because within those roars they heard despair. Those unyielding, supremely cruel evil demons were in despair. What an inspiring thing! Above the grand hall, Xianxia human venerable stood before the throne, and together with Elder Zixuan, watched in the same direction. They all saw the silhouette of the Wuxia divine sparrow. Is it the ancestor master Wuxia taking action? This bird is truly formidable. Xianxia human venerable could not help but speak, his tone full of surprise. Elder Zixuan did not turn around, he steadily watched that great thousand world, seeing Wuxia divine sparrow press forward, annihilating all evil demons that obstructed its path, his heart equally stirred. It seemed the ancestor master Wuxia is not just talk. With such a divine bird, who can resist? After all, being an immortal monarch, he cannot discern the cultivation level of this divine bird. Not only him, Xianxia human venerable could not see through it either, which is why they felt invigorated, sensing hope to reverse the situation. Wuxia divine sparrow moved swiftly, only making a round through that great world and vanquishing all evil demons within. These demons hailed from chaos, yet facing Wuxia divine sparrow, no divine skills they performed could shake its form. Instead, they were burned to ashes by its overwhelming flames of 7 colors. Unstoppable! After destroying the evil demons of this great world, Wuxia divine sparrow flew outside the heavens, crossing the void, directly descending upon the next great world. This world was likewise occupied by the great immortal divine Yuan, and all beings were in distress. The rainbow light drove away the darkness, bringing light to all beings, bringing hope to Xianxia human venerable. However, Xianxia human venerable and Elder Zixuan saw an endless stream of great powers, evil demons approaching Wuxia divine sparrow. The moment Wuxia divine sparrow appeared, it alarmed the immortal gods under the great immortal divine Yuan. In this contest for the celestial mandate, some immortal gods were responsible for overseeing the entire situation, immediately detecting any changes. Upon arriving at the second great thousand world, spatial black holes continuously appeared in the dark celestial vault. Mighty heavenly soldiers and generals, members of the Mo Luo clan, and possessors of demon god bodies appeared, densely packed, quickly surrounding Wuxia divine sparrow. Even in the stone hall, Baichen star monarch saw this scene. He frowned, watching the magnificent Wuxia divine sparrow, feeling a sense of unease. The battle in the 3,000 great worlds was not his concern. His current responsibility was to oversee the master of the great world within the hall. What on earth is the origin of this bird? Why have I never seen it before? Baichen star monarch muttered to himself, continuing to observe, but the more he watched, the more alarmed he became. Even when encircled by 1,000,000 opponents, that divine bird did not stop. It was completely unstoppable. Those he deemed formidable could not withstand the divine bird, their attacks utterly ineffective. You successfully seized 908,762,431 years of lifespan from Night Demon Monarch, early stage of innate golden immortal realm. You successfully seized 32,870,871,107 years of lifespan from Su Qiuma, late stage of Hengtian golden immortal realm. You successfully seized 64,592,883 years of lifespan from Heavenly Falling Star, late stage of innate golden immortal realm. One prompt after another popped up before Guan's eyes. He couldn't help but sigh. Indeed, those daring to participate in the celestial mandate struggle mostly have known their fate and had to take a gamble to avoid death. Immortal gods could not grant him lifespan, but fortunately, there were enough evil demons. Guan's lifespan began to surge wildly, even making his Tao heart ripple. To him, The lifespan was like the experience bar in a game, concerning his strength. Seeing the experience bar shoot up at an unprecedented pace, he felt both exhilarated and somewhat anxious. Even though he was killing evil demons of the most despicable kind, killing too many could become burdensome. S.E. the novel. F. Ire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He could only think that he was helping the 3,000 great worlds, and with Shenyuan human venerable around, the celestial court would not hold him accountable. Although he already possessed the ability to face the celestial court, Guan still did not want to prematurely become its enemy. The celestial emperor was his imaginary foe. Not that he necessarily wanted to battle the celestial emperor, but he had to ensure he possessed the effortless strength to eradicate the celestial emperor before he could completely disregard the celestial court. Guan stood up, preparing to take a walk in the dojo to disperse his focus. But the speed at which his lifespan increased was faster than he imagined. When he reached the foot of the mountain, new prompts appeared before him. Your lifespan has broken through 10 trillion years for the first time, unlocking the lifespan inheritance feature. Lifespan inheritance. You can freely choose to consume a certain number of lifespans to conduct lifespan inheritance. You will enter the Vanished Enlightenment Seeker Dojo to listen to their teachings. The grade of the dojo corresponds to the lifespan you consume, with a minimum consumption of 100 billion years per session. Ha! Not an upgrade to the previous lifespan feature? Looking at the 100 billion years consumption bottom line, Guan felt it was a trap. There once was a time when 100 billion years was a lifespan number he could only aspire to. No, can't use it recklessly. Guan thought silently. He had already unlocked lifespan detection, lifespan barrier, lifespan deduction, life expectancy prediction, lifespan fusion, lifespan reincarnation, lifespan simulation, lifespan dojo, lifespan breakthrough, lifespan projection, and lifespan inheritance. Many of these features he rarely used, but he would never consider them too few. Some things can go unused but cannot be absent. Guan moved along the small river at the foot of the mountain, his gaze shifting towards the 3,000 great worlds. Wuxia divine sparrow flew over one great thousand world after another, attracting the pursuit of great immortal divine Yuan's minions, while immortal gods were ceaselessly obliterated and resurrected, continuously returning to battle. Meanwhile, the Mo Luo clan was frightened, and the number of those going to support dwindled. Various sects of the Great Thousand Worlds dared not rashly participate, and Guan did not make things difficult for them because they had no choice. Exhausting and eradicating all evil demons and immortal gods, each Great Thousand World would naturally return to peace. After the calamity, each world sects would need to govern and restore the heavens and earth. Arriving at a valley, Guan saw Nzizai teaching a disciple a lesson. The disciple was a young man, kneeling before Nzizai. Facing the stern Nzizai, the disciple wore a defiant expression, meeting his gaze without fear. Guan became intrigued, and Nzizai's prestige within the Wuxia far exceeded Nzin's. With Nzizai not present, the disciples feared him most. Yet there was a disciple daring to be stubborn with Nzizai? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 799. Major Variables. Do you still not realize your mistake? Nzizai glared angrily at the disciple kneeling in front of him and shouted somberly. The disciple looked up, gritting his teeth, and said, "What mistake did I make?" That person relied on his family's influence to bully others. As a Wuxia disciple, I ought to take action when I see such things. Do you not know the rules of the Wuxia sect? Wuxia disciples must not interfere in the affairs and grievances on the continent. If you encounter injustice, you can report it to the officials. With your status as a Wuxia disciple, no one would dare neglect you. Reporting to the officials, who merely evade responsibility, what is the point? Is my cultivation not meant to punish the wicked and eradicate evil? Are you questioning Wuxia, questioning the Nine Spirit Dynasty? I am not questioning. It's just that when I encounter it, I cannot let it go. Watching the two confront each other, Guan also understood the ins and outs of the situation and simultaneously gained a clear impression of the disciple. This disciple was named Xianxia, the 8th-generation disciple of Wuxia, born on the Nine-Spirit continent. His family was relatively happy. Although his talent was not the strongest, He was born with an overwhelming sense of justice, always stepping in to help when he saw injustice. This drew the attention of Duan Li. Duan Li inherited the destiny-defying divine skill modified by Guan, and through continuous passing of skills, his cultivation ranked among the top in Wuxia. Xianxia was his direct disciple, but he did not inherit the destiny-defying divine skill. Instead, he was personally taught by Zizai. Zizai treated him as his own flesh and blood, only falling short of imparting the myriad supreme palm to him. On the surface, the 9 spirit continents seemed harmonious, but in places with many people, injustice inevitably arises. Human nature is also unpredictable. Even at the foot of Wuxia, unjust events still happen. Whenever the suffering came to kneel before Wuxia Mountain's gate, Zizai would send people to aid them. He didn't want Wuxia disciples to interfere too much in worldly affairs, as this would accumulate more conflicts and alter the disciples' mindset. After all, Wuxia was an immortal cultivation arena, not a product of power. Seeing Xianxia still stubborn, Zizai, irritated, wanted to slap him, but his right hand hovered over his head, unable to come down. "You truly want to anger me to death," Zizai scolded with glaring eyes. As he was about to speak harshly, he suddenly noticed Guan walking towards them, his anger dissipating instantly. He hurriedly sidestepped Xianxia and approached Guan. Xianxia instinctively turned to look, and when he saw Guan, his face changed dramatically. He immediately bowed his head, his heart suddenly in turmoil. He was not familiar with the ancestor but had met him a few times. Although they didn't have much interaction, he admired the ancestor the most. Thinking he might embarrass himself in front of the ancestor threw his heart into chaos. However, he did not regret it. He believed he hadn't done anything wrong. Even if he were expelled from Wuxia, he wouldn't regret it. "Do you intend to strike your junior?" Guan came to Zizai and asked with a smile, and before his eyes, messages about seizing lifespan kept popping up, putting him in a very pleasant mood. Zizai almost broke into a cold sweat hearing this. He helplessly said, "Who told him to be so stubborn?" He narrated what Xianxia had done, seemingly angry, yet his tone unavoidably conveyed a sense of gratification. Xianxia was righteous, loved to fight against injustice, and refused to yield. A disciple like this was rarely found even at the Wuxia dojo. Though Wuxia disciples were not evil, because of countless years of transmission, most had developed a detached attitude, put harshly, indifference. Zizai understood Guan's constraints were out of fear that the disciples would become too indulgent, so he was in no position to judge whether the rules of Wuxia were right or wrong. He needed to follow Guan's established rules. "He's quite good like this. Different ways should be allowed. As long as one is wholeheartedly benevolent, it's not necessarily bad. If you want to forge him, why not let him go out and train?" Guan, smiling, commented. Somehow, looking at Xianxia reminded him of his reincarnation body, Yangxian, who also loved to stand against injustice, unyielding, though not as impetuous as Xianxia. Speaking of which, Liya also possessed a sense of justice, but Liya acted with more discretion, never being stubbornly fixated. He idles around every day. If he wants to cultivate to the Zizai immortal realm, he may still need some time. Zizai shook his head and sighed. "It's all right, let him go ahead. Consider it an exception." Guan waved his sleeve with a generous laugh, but his words instead made Zizai hesitate. Zizai hesitated in speaking, and Guan, reading his thoughts, reproached, "I say training means training. I never beat around the bush. I also want to see if, after experiencing the red dust, he will still maintain such a pure heart. I am very much looking forward to it." With that, Guan walked towards the distant mountains and forests, his gaze gliding over Xianxia's back without a trace. Zizai froze, then grew delighted and promptly bent in salute towards Guan. After Guan disappeared into the forest, Zizai approached Xianxia. At this moment, Xianxia was apprehensive, uncertain if the ancestor's arrangement was to train him or to suppress his spirit. Zizai looked down at him and said, "You heard him, prepare to go out and train. As for when to return, I won't limit you, but you must stay outside for at least 1,000 years." Xianxia, fearless, responded loudly, "All right. I will never let you or the ancestor down." His words sounded like a promise, but his tone seemed to oppose Zizai. Zizai glared at him, urging, "Hurry up and get out of here." Xianxia knelt and bowed to Zizai, then stood up and left. Be sure to inform your master first. And Zizai instructed. Upon hearing this, Xianxia waved his hand as he walked away without looking back. Xianxia the Oval Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Watching his back, and Zizai's stern expression faded, replaced by anticipation. How many years had it been? It was the first time the ancestor personally arranged for a disciple to train, also anticipating whether this boy would change his will. I hope you truly remain as repulsed by evil as you claim. If you maintain it, you will turn the tide, which is also the good fortune a righteous heart should have. And Zizai thought silently, having realized a deeper meaning. If Xianxia returns and earns Guan's commendation and inheritance, it will inspire other disciples to foster a spirit of goodwill and guide them towards the direction Wuxia should take. But then again, the ancestor seemed so happy. What exactly happened? And Zizai turned to watch where Guan had gone, curious about what had transpired. Meanwhile, Guan continued along the mountain path, sunlight streaming through the gaps in the leaves, falling upon him. The prompts in front of him had not ceased. His lifespan had already increased to an astonishing degree. He even felt that after this battle, he could pursue a higher realm. Of course, it would be best to lay low for now. If he broke through again, even amidst chaos, it might alarm the entire celestial court, possibly rousing the celestial emperor from his immersion in reincarnation. At that moment, Guan raised an eyebrow. A turn of events occurred in the battle across the 3,000 great worlds. Even such beings are joining the fight? This was an occurrence never before seen in the previous fates, indicating something extraordinary lay behind the great immortal divine Yuan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 800. Not allowed to roam freely inside the dimly lit Great Hall, all the masters of the great worlds were already awake, sitting in meditation, reviewing their earlier gains. Zhu suddenly opened her eyes, her eyebrows knitted tightly, a look of confusion in her eyes. As she pondered, she lifted her gaze when she caught sight of Bachan Star Monarch, and couldn't help being drawn to his expression. Bachan Star Monarch stood on the steps, gazing at the dark celestial vault outside the palace. It was unclear what he was thinking, but his expression clearly showed he was troubled. Could it be that the Son of Heaven met with mishap? Zhu instantly thought of this. She closed her eyes to avoid being noticed by Bachan Star Monarch. But she was no longer able to cultivate peacefully. If something truly happened to the Son of Heaven, wouldn't it mean the celestial throne struggle would shift? Even though the great immortal divine Yuan had already reclaimed 90% of the great worlds, Zhu always felt uneasy, because no matter how she looked at it, the actions of the great immortal divine Yuan did not conform to the heavenly Tao. How could immortal gods drive evil demons into battle and allow them to devour all living beings? Although the Taiwei Great World was spared from the evil demons occupying and spreading chaos, it was only because she allied with the great immortal divine Yuan at the beginning of the celestial throne struggle. She had heard of the fate of other great thousand worlds, all of which had become human purgatories under the occupation of the great immortal divine Yuan. It was precisely because of these actions that left these auxiliary forces confused and uneasy, fearing that after the great immortal divine Yuan's victory, their meritorious deeds would be erased. If this Son of Heaven truly fails, how should the Taiwei Great World conduct itself? Zhu thought with a heavy heart. Although she was an outsider, she had been in the Taiwei Great World for so many years and founded the new holy court. She had come to regard the Taiwei Great World as her own, and did not wish for it to become yet another purgatory for evil demons. Meanwhile, in another great hall far away, Shenyuan Human Venerable and Xianxia Old Immortal were also observing the battle. Unlike Bachan Star Monarch's worried expression, these two immortal gods were very excited, praising the power of the Wuxia Divine Sparrow. Even if a supreme immortal takes action, it might not stop this bird. Ancestor Master Wuxia is truly formidable to rear a divine creature like this. Xianxia Old Immortal stroked his beard and laughed, saying that the celestial court also had powerful divine beasts and immortal beasts, but such a mighty existence as the Wuxia Divine Sparrow was rare, and even Xianxia Old Immortal, despite living countless years, had never seen such a majestic presence. Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The Wuxia Divine Sparrow was like a sharp arrow, piercing through the 3,000 great worlds, using its own radiance to tear apart the darkness enshrouding the Great Thousand World, incinerating the world's evil demons, advancing relentlessly, unstoppable. There are indeed many clever people. Xianxia Human Venerable smirked mockingly. Those living beings and evil demons without celestial destiny from the celestial court dared not approach the Wuxia divine sparrow. Only the heavenly soldiers and generals pressed on, unafraid of death. Xianxia Old Immortal responded, when those immortal gods die enough times, even their courage will dissipate. Immortal gods might be immortal, but they cannot be resurrected continuously. Each resurrection consumes their celestial destiny, and when exhausted, a decline in cultivation level is the least. Severely, they might lose their immortal position, and those immortal gods wouldn't risk their lives for the great immortal divine Yuan to such an extent. Xianxia Human Venerable nodded. The situation was favorable, which also improved his mood greatly. He was about to say something when his expression suddenly changed. Xianxia Old Immortal also sensed something. His eyes widened in disbelief as he exclaimed, "How is this possible? What is this aura?" An overwhelming celestial might, far beyond his cultivation level, was descending upon the 3,000 great worlds, oppressing the living beings of every world, including those of the celestial spirit great world. Which celestial Tao Venerable wants to aid the great immortal divine Yuan? Is this permissible? Xianxia Old Immortal anxiously asked, feeling it unfair that when the tides were about to turn in their favor, a celestial Tao Venerable came to support the great immortal divine Yuan. The celestial throne struggle does not allow celestial Tao Venerables to intervene. The most important test is to win over the mortal spirits. Ancestor Master Wuxia lacks celestial destiny, which is within the rules. Xianxia Human Venerable's face was solemn as he stated, "It's not a venerable, it's a supreme immortal, one of the strongest among the supremes. Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal." These words fell like a heavy hammer, rendering Xianxia Old Immortal silent. The Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal is known as the pinnacle of immortals, and beyond that, even though still named immortal, they transcend that realm, becoming akin to the great Tao itself. In the celestial court, the Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal is also a supremely powerful presence. Xianxia Old Immortal thought of those Tao Extreme Daluo Immortals who remain as supremes, feeling an overwhelming pressure bearing down. Those beings remain as supremes only due to insufficient merit or previous misaligned allegiance. They have become reclusive and unpredictable due to various reasons, making Xianxia Old Immortal feel as though he was walking on the edge of a knife around them. After a while, Xianxia Old Immortal managed to squeeze out a question. "Your Highness, will Ancestor Master Wuxia take action against Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal?" Xianxia Human Venerable did not answer. His pupils reflected the form of the Wuxia Divine Sparrow. The Wuxia Divine Sparrow seemed unaware of the arrival of the Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal. Continuing to press forward, the immortal gods along the way were like countless light stars disintegrating upon contact, unable to halt its advance. Within the Taoist field of the beginningless, Guan continued to wander, no longer seeing lifespan prompts before him, as now all the enemies besieging the Wuxia Divine Sparrow were immortal gods, which left him slightly regretful. Even the Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal wants to participate in the celestial throne struggle. It seems that no matter how high the cultivation level, there are times when one cannot see through the situation. Guan thought silently, though he did not consider the Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal a threat, he couldn't help but reflect upon seeing the involvement of a Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal. In the endless Tao Mountain, the Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal was a supreme existence. Even immortal gods were willing to listen to their teachings. Tao Extreme Daluo Immortals possessed vast divine skills, capable of traversing past and future, even creating worlds. Theoretically, such beings should have found freedom, yet why engage in great cause and effect? Xianxia Human Venerable holds the Celestial Emperor's heavenly Tao Emperor Jade. Could it be that behind the great immortal divine Yuan, there is a will challenging the Celestial Emperor? It seems that even the Tao Extreme Daluo Immortals in the Celestial Court cannot achieve true freedom. A figure appeared out of thin air before Guan. It was an Xian. Her eyes already turned into Immortal Emperor's eye. Her purple pupils exuding such a sinister depth, unfathomable. "Master, is there a formidable enemy approaching?" An Xian asked with a frown. She had been in seclusion for enlightenment, but suddenly felt an unsettling aura, her divine sense dispersed, discovering that all living beings in the world felt it, some becoming uneasy, some fearful, and some confused. Guan stopped his steps, looked up and said, It's not aiming at the celestial spirit great world, that individual intends to seize the 3,000 great worlds. Who is it, and why do this? An immortal god, probably here for the celestial throne struggle. Gu An's response deepened the frown on Nzin's brow. Another celestial throne struggle. How many years has it been, and why is it not over yet? Gu An's gaze traversed one great thousand world after another, across the void universe, to the dark void outside the 3,000 great worlds. The 3,000 great worlds are not situated in the same dimension, nor are they adjacent, but a mystical cause and effect links them from different directions. At this moment, within the darkness, a hand was raised, a white right hand with a broad and long white sleeve extending from the wrist. This hand slowly turned over, palm facing forward, beginning to advance. As its 5 fingers started to close, countless star-like lights appeared in the palm, too many to count. When this hand formed a fist, the celestial vault of the 3,000 great worlds suddenly darkened, day turned to night, and night became even darker. An Xian, standing next to Guen, was astonished by this scene, instinctively looking towards Guen. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 801. Facing Nzin's gaze, Guen remained expressionless and said nothing, which made an Xian have to look up again at the dim celestial vault. The entire world suddenly darkened. The all-living beings of the 9-spirit continent were in an uproar. The noise was deafening. Even under the protection of Wuxia, it was like this, let alone the outside world. The multitudes were terrified and uneasy. Countless great cultivators came to outer heaven, discovering that the celestial Tao light layer covering the celestial spirit great world had turned dark, which was why the world was in night. Looking at the pitch-black celestial Tao light layer, all the great cultivators felt a chill on their backs, always feeling that a catastrophe was imminent, which made everyone feel oppressed. Other great thousand worlds were similarly enveloped in an atmosphere of panic. In the distant darkness, that hand slowly retracted, bringing the fist to the chest. It belonged to a man in white robes, his figure tall, white hair casually draping, with a white jade head ornament on his forehead. His face was handsome, but his brows exuded a coldness. He seemed like a cold and ruthless ruler. Even as he held the 3,000 great worlds in his hands, causing countless creatures to fear, his expression did not change in the slightest. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed, focusing on his right fist. Silvery flames seeped through the gaps of his fingers, causing this Tao extreme Daluo immortal to feel a burning pain, and a look of astonishment appeared in his eyes. He then opened his right fist, and silver flames surged in his palm, like a mountain flood, rushing into the dark void. Sar the Novel Fire, NE*T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The white-robed Daluo immortal raised his gaze to see a magnificent figure manifesting within the vast silver flames. It was the Wuxia divine sparrow. The Wuxia divine sparrow rapidly expanded, its wings spreading out with gusts of air, fluttering the white-robed Daluo immortal's robes, looking down upon him. In front of the Wuxia divine sparrow, the white-robed Daluo immortal was as small as sand before Mount Tai. The white-robed Daluo immortal looked up at the Wuxia divine sparrow, with his right hand still held at his chest, with a dense number of spots of light hovering above his palm, and those were the 3,000 great worlds. Holding the 3,000 great worlds, his aura was so steady that he wasn't suppressed by the Wuxia divine sparrow. Who are you, with such cultivation level, yet not belonging to the celestial court? Perhaps you and I have met before. The white-robed Daluo immortal spoke, his tone exuding a sense of supremacy. He may not have been the strongest existence, but he was definitely one of those who have lived the longest, having even ventured into chaos. The Wuxia divine sparrow did not answer him, it merely floated before him, flapping its wings. The heavenly will belongs to the great immortal divine Yuan. I hope fellow Taoist does not oppose it. The defeat of Shen Yuan human venerable is already certain, so why act at this critical juncture? The white-robed Daluo immortal inquired, his Tao extreme Daluo immortal aura fully erupting, causing immortal gods and great powers within the 3,000 great worlds to be awed. To think even such an existence is taking action. Su Yu, standing next to Jianghu, said solemnly, his eyes for the first time showing strong apprehension. Jianghu looked up at the dark celestial vault, saying nothing, not knowing what sort of existence had startled such immortal gods. Their celestial army was currently recuperating and had not gone to war for 10,000 years. Not just them, many immortal gods were looking up at the celestial Tao light layers of the realms, wanting to see the figure of the white-robed Daluo immortal, but they could see nothing. The white-robed Daluo immortal was freely displaying his aura. He looked at the Wuxia divine sparrow, his lips curling into an arrogant smile, a smile of supreme confidence. Even if the opponent was also a Tao extreme Daluo immortal, he was unafraid. Being of the same Tao extreme Daluo immortal realm, he hailed from the celestial court, possessing an innate advantage. Moreover, he hadn't had a hearty battle for many years, seldom fighting since stepping into the Tao extreme Daluo immortal realm. The Wuxia divine sparrow continued flapping its wings, seemingly not understanding his words, giving no response, retreating neither forward nor backward, which made a cold gleam flash in his eyes. In that case, let me personally drive you away. The white-robed Daluo immortal snorted coldly, dropping his right hand, raising his left hand, and grabbing in the void, miraculously forming 9 true dragons radiating brilliant light, larger than the Wuxia divine sparrow, attacking it from all directions. The 9 dragons jointly attacked, unleashing an unparalleled domineering killing pressure that enveloped the Wuxia divine sparrow, causing the silvery flames on its body to freeze. Boom! The white robe of the white-robed Daluo immortal billowed violently, his gaze firmly fixed on the Wuxia divine sparrow. As soon as the 9 true dragons touched the Wuxia divine sparrow, they were instantly annihilated. The intense light illuminated the dark void, causing the white-robed Daluo immortal to squint. Seeing that his formation couldn't shake the Wuxia divine sparrow, the white-robed Daluo immortal was not panicked. His left hand covered with Tao extreme patterns, each containing profound true meaning of the great Tao, instantly presenting the 3,000 great Tao in the dark void, transforming into great rivers of the Tao, rapidly surrounding them. The great rivers of the Tao intertwined, countless world scenes reflected in each great river of the Tao. After blocking Wuxia divine sparrow's retreat, the white-robed Daluo immortal's left hand then manifested a large fan made of peacock feathers, which he waved at the Wuxia divine sparrow. A violent Tao true fire rose out of nowhere, instantly engulfing the Wuxia divine sparrow, occupying the space within the confines of the great rivers of the Tao. The firelight shone on the face of the white-robed Daluo immortal, with flames burning in his pupils. Suddenly, silver light burst out from the sea of fire, swiftly covering his pupils. Boom! The celestial vault of the 3,000 great worlds suddenly became bright, turning night into day, and even brighter than the usual daytime. An Xian saw the celestial vault brighten suddenly. Her heart tightened even more, as her immortal emperor's eye was in intense disquiet. Her intuition told her that if she leapt to outer heaven now, something terrifying surely awaited her. Guan retracted his gaze and turned to leave. And Xin's gaze followed him, and she saw the world dim down to the usual daylight brightness, but compared to before, it seemed somewhat dusky. Seeing her master depart, she knew the mysterious struggle in outer heaven had concluded. The unease brought by the immortal emperor's eye quickly dissipated. She was full of confusion in her heart, what had happened, and what kind of existence had released the previous aura. Meanwhile, Shenyuan human venerable and Xianxia elder immortal stood in the grand hall, nervously waiting. They couldn't see the battle beyond the heavens, for the celestial Tao destiny had been severed. They suddenly felt the aura of that Tao extreme Daluo immortal disappear abruptly. The celestial Tao light layer of the 3,000 great worlds quickly returned to normal. Could it be? Xianxia elder immortal began excitedly, but didn't finish, fearing another mishap. Shenyuan human venerable was shocked, murmuring, "How is it possible? So quickly?" His mind was in turmoil. He had suspected the ancestor master Wuxia to be strong, but he had not expected this strong. To drive off a Tao extreme Daluo immortal in such a short time? And one from the celestial court at that. He followed with a sense of awe. Such a great power was actually willing to support him. Fortunately, he hadn't been too overbearing when facing the ancestor master Wuxia earlier, otherwise, he feared he wouldn't have walked out of the Taoist field of the beginningless. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 802. Vast life span above the layers of the cloud sea, the white-robed Daluo immortal appeared out of thin air. He raised his right foot, seemingly wanting to step forward, but his foot hung in mid-air, unable to land for a long time. His whole body trembled. His face looked extremely bad, and in his pupils, the image of the Wuxia divine sparrow charging at him kept reflecting. His hands in his sleeves were clenched tightly, and his mood was extremely unsettled. He possessed the cultivation level of a Dao extreme Daluo immortal in perfection. Facing that divine bird, his immortal body was obliterated in an instant. When he resurrected and flew out from the heavenly pool, even the celestial gods guarding the pool cast surprised glances at him, which he found so ironic. How could this be? Who on earth is he? Could it be the Xianxia primordial immortal? The white-robed Daluo immortal's face shifted between clear and gloomy. Even though he had deliberately concealed the heavenly secret before striking, preventing the celestial court from noticing this battle, once Shenyuan human venerable won, the news would undoubtedly reach the celestial court, and he would definitely become the laughingstock of heaven. He was burning with rage, yet inwardly somewhat fearful. This conflicting emotion made it difficult for him to step forward. The opponent could so easily obliterate him. Their cultivation level must vastly surpass his. Going again would only be self-humiliation. But if he didn't go, then the great immortal divine Yuan would be finished. He could see Shenyuan human venerable mobilizing his troops, preparing to launch a counterattack. After this battle, the morale of the great immortal divine Yuan's side had plummeted, and in the eyes of the white-robed Daluo immortal, he could already see the 3,000 great worlds falling entirely into Shenyuan human venerable's hands. The white-robed Daluo immortal fell silent, standing above the cloud sea for a long time, finally choosing to return to the celestial court. After the unsettling atmosphere across the 3,000 great worlds dispersed, the clamor in various realms continued for a long time. The celestial spirit great world was the first to quiet down, while other great worlds plunged back into turmoil. After defeating the white-robed Daluo immortal, the Wuxia divine sparrow once again descended on the 3,000 great worlds, continuing to gallop and exterminate the evil demons remaining in various realms. This caused more and more evil demons to flee, and the number of immortal gods coming to stop the Wuxia divine sparrow dwindled. Until dusk, Guan retrieved the Wuxia divine sparrow. Name: Guan. Lifespan: 29,681,470/231,584,321,418,460. Physique: Primordial infinite creation Tao body. Cultivation level: Primordial profound venerable immortal realm perfection. Guan's lifespan increased to 230 trillion years. When he broke through the 100 trillion years lifespan, he didn't activate new lifespan abilities or upgrade opportunities, but he didn't mind, as he was enjoying the joy brought by the enormous lifespan. Breaking through to the next great realm is secure. Guan was overjoyed. But worry followed. Today, the Wuxia divine sparrow slaughtered far too many evil demons, and their cultivation levels were not low, involving unimaginable cause and effect. Now lifespan alerts continuously appeared before Guan's eyes, not to seize lifespan, but to predict life expectancy in determining cause and effect nemesis. The life expectancy prediction is indeed a good thing, at least it gives him a sense of crisis. No matter how high his cultivation, seeing these endless enemies was inevitably disconcerting. Guan shook his head, ready to fish to soothe his mood. The 9 spirit continents' dusk was beautiful, with birds flying across the sky like they carried hope. Everything appeared so harmonious. In the distance within a valley, Tai Immortal Monarch and the 72 immortals of Jianghu stood on the grass, looking up at the celestial vault, their gaze directed toward the other great thousand world, all immortal gods' faces filled with shock. Did it really turn around? Who on earth is that divine sparrow? So terrifying, those chaos evil demons, immortal gods turned to ash before it. The one who earlier concealed the heavenly secret must be an even more terrifying existence. That divine sparrow disappeared for a while. When it returned, the heavenly secret resumed. Something must have happened in between. Human Venerable actually still had such means hidden. The 72 immortals of Jianghu talked excitedly, not because they supported Shenyuan Human Venerable, but seeing him, seemingly defeated, suddenly reverse a defeat lasting millions of years within one day was so thrilling, making them inevitably excited. Purple Dragon Star Monarch noticed Tai Immortal Monarch remaining silent, wondering what he was thinking, his brow furrowed. Unable to hold back, he transmitted his voice to inquire, "Immortal Monarch, do you know the origin of that divine sparrow?" Tai Immortal Monarch turned back, glancing sideways at him, which made his heart tremble with excitement. Could it be? Purple Dragon Star Monarch thought of something. He got excited as well, recalling his experience upon coming to the celestial spirit great world. It felt dreamlike. It was not the first time he was shocked by Ancestor Master Wuxia's cultivation. Who on earth is this person? He suddenly suspected Ancestor Master Wuxia to be an avatar of a celestial Tao venerable. Only this possibility made sense. Going forward, build the celestial spirit great world well. It will be our greatest opportunity. Tai Immortal Monarch said solemnly, making Purple Dragon Star Monarch nod. Don't be fooled by Tai Immortal Monarch's calm demeanor. Inside he's laughing uncontrollably. Such cultivation, even if unrelated to the celestial court, will inevitably make one a supreme immortal, celestial Tao venerable. Judging by Gu and allowing his disciple to ascend to immortality, he bore no enmity toward the celestial court, coupled with his attitude toward all living beings. Following such a person, Tai Immortal Monarch was at ease, filled with infinite anticipation. After gambling so many times, he finally gambled right this time. In the dim great hall, the atmosphere was oppressive. All masters of the great world stood, no longer reminiscing about previous insights. Their gazes fell on Bachan Star Monarch. Bachan Star Monarch continued standing atop the steps, but his face was utterly sour, not hiding his terrible mood. The masters of the great world were filled with confusion and unease, yet no one dared to speak. After a long time, Bachan Star Monarch seemed to hear something. His expression changed. He took a deep breath and looked at the crowd, saying, "Go back, reorganize your forces, and prepare for battle." Without waiting for questions, he waved his sleeves, sending them out of this realm. Once the hall was left with only him, he sighed, then took out a copper mirror from his sleeve, casting magic onto it. After a while, the mirror surface emitted a ray of light, illuminating a figure with immortal elegance and Taoist bones. "Master, circumstances have changed." Bachan Star Monarch gritted his teeth, recounting everything that had happened. Xianxia the Nefire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The figure on the mirror was an elder in a cyan robe, with extraordinary presence. His look was as cold as that of the white-robed Daluo immortal, but as Bachan Star Monarch spoke more, his brows furrowed. Bachan Star Monarch finished speaking, nervously watching the elder, waiting for him to speak. The elder remained silent for a while, then spoke. "Give up. Directly return to the celestial court to face punishment. I will intercede for you. It is at least a better outcome than after the defeat of the great immortal divine Yuan." Upon hearing this, Bachan Star Monarch's face dramatically changed. He instinctively wanted to plead, but the words stuck in his throat as he met his master's gaze. He finally swallowed his words, sighed and bowed. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 803. Above the Revered Immortal. The upheaval of counterattacks erupted across the 3,000 great worlds, with the great immortal divine Yuan drawing chaos evil demons into battle, causing all living beings across the great worlds to suffer deeply. As Xianyuan human venerable began to counterattack, many native forces in various great worlds began to overthrow the rule of the great immortal divine Yuan. The Wuxia divine sparrow flew across the 3,000 great worlds, witnessed by countless living beings. Everyone believed that the Wuxia divine sparrow brought victory and hope. Shrines and temples dedicated to the Wuxia divine sparrow sprang up like mushrooms after rain across various realms. The Wuxia divine sparrow was bestowed numerous titles. In the years that followed, even Guan, who was far away at the Taoist field of the beginningless, could sense a unique destiny rushing toward him, which was the faith of all living beings in the Wuxia divine sparrow. The destiny born from this faith was extremely complex. It could help him enhance his cultivation level, allow him to create magical treasures, spiritual objects, and more. It could be said to be omnipotent. No wonder the immortal gods desire incense from the human world. It is worth mentioning that merit does not belong to the heavenly Tao. Guan directly stored this merit within the Wuxia divine sparrow, keeping it for later use. He didn't intend to enhance his cultivation level with the merit, but rather saved it for any unforeseen use. In the years that followed, there were no major changes in the celestial spirit great world, but the 3,000 great worlds descended into unprecedented frenzy. The more oppression inflicted by the great immortal divine Yuan, the more emotions were released by all living beings now. However, without a powerful force like Guan stepping in, Xianyuan Human Venerable needed time to annex all the great thousand worlds of the great immortal divine Yuan. In the blink of an eye, 3,000 years passed. Guan sat within a bamboo grove, boiling tea while gazing at the 3,000 great worlds. After so many years of counterattacks, 60% of the great worlds had fallen under Xianyuan Human Venerable, while the morale on the side of the great immortal divine Yuan plummeted. More and more immortal gods abandoned their support for the great immortal divine Yuan and switched to supporting Xianyuan Human Venerable, including many new faces. Even immortal gods have a human side. Seeing that Xianyuan Human Venerable was likely to win, many immortal gods wanted to contribute to his success. To stabilize the situation, under the persuasion of Zixuan Old Immortal, Xianyuan chose to accept these immortal gods' help, even sharing benefits with them and allowing them to spread Taoism in the human world. What seemed like a battle between two sons of heaven was, for many immortal gods, a rare opportunity. Each immortal god possesses immortal authority. It's not something that can easily be exercised by descending to the mortal world to preach, which is why the previous immortal god did so by sending dreams, as his true self could not appear. Guan watched the actions of those immortal gods, as if watching a play, while contemplating his next breakthrough plan. With such a long lifespan, he could completely improve himself in all aspects, but he felt his current Taoist techniques were already strong enough, adequate, for now, since he wasn't experiencing any pressure from others in the same realm. Search * the novel, F. Iyer. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. However, upon recalling the Celestial Emperor's reincarnation encountered by Gu Xianyu, he changed his mind. No. He not only needed a higher cultivation level, but his combat power must also far surpass others in the same realm. To be invincible does not mean having no rivals one-on-one, but rather being undefeated no matter how many enemies come. Guan even started hypothesizing the possibility of multiple Celestial Emperors existing in the Celestial Court, since the position of Celestial Emperor can be inherited. What if the ancient Celestial Emperor wasn't dead? Just as Guan pondered, two figures walked out from the bamboo grove. They were Zizai and Xianxia. Xianxia had been training outside for 3,000 years, and aside from his somewhat travel-worn appearance, his overall demeanor and vital energy showed little change. The two arrived beside Guan and bowed in greeting. And Zizai spoke, "Ancestor, Xianxia has returned from his training excursion. Is there anything you'd have him do?" The reason for asking this was his hope that Guan would take notice of Xianxia and personally nurture this young man. Gaining Guan's direct teachings would certainly enable him to surpass other disciples, just like in Zizai. Among those of a younger generation, there were many with talent and comprehension beyond him, yet beneath the second-generation disciples, none could shake his standing in terms of power and status. Xianxia looked at Guan without much excitement, appearing very composed. Guan raised his eyes to evaluate Xianxia and asked, "During this excursion, were there any tasks beyond your power?" Xianxia replied, "Yes, many. My cultivation is too weak to help many people. Some demon sects need destroying. I will cultivate properly and venture out again in the future." He didn't directly ask Guan to intervene, which made Zizai reassess him. In fact, over the years, Zizai had constantly been observing him, aware of all his experiences. Xianxia had been furious and irrational, but once he returned to the beginningless, he exhibited calmness. He wouldn't let others help enforce his will. Any regrets? Yes, I was deceived into thinking she would truly reform, only for her to cause more deaths. Even after personally killing her, it didn't change this fact. I swore never to show compassion again. Did anything occur that shook your beliefs? Yes, I met someone who upheld justice, helping mortal spirits everywhere indiscriminately, whether humans or untransformed beasts. He aided without seeking anything in return. He saved many mortal spirits, yet in the immortal cultivation realm, he was a demon, notorious for refining soul banners from cultivators. I don't know whether to label him as good or evil. As he spoke these words, Xianxia's expression turned complex. Guan smiled and said, "It seems you've gained a lot. Go on." Xianxia immediately bowed and then turned to leave. And Zizai hesitated for a moment, sometimes gazing at Xianxia's departing figure, sometimes looking at Guan, as if wanting to speak but refraining. He's good material. There's no need to rush. When the time is right, I'll teach him Taoist techniques. He himself feels it's not suitable now. Guan picked up the teapot and said softly. Hearing this, Zizai smiled, for Guan's words assured him that Xianxia's future success was promising. He quickly thanked Guan and then refrained from disturbing him further. After Zizai left, Guan decided to make a breakthrough the next day. He had already begun to envision the realm beyond the mixed element profound venerable immortal. Not until nightfall did Guan finally rise and leave. Returning to his courtyard, as usual, he chatted casually with Xianxia about trivial matters. On a different note, Xianxia meditated within his cave mansion, the oil lamp on the wall casting light upon the environment. This cave mansion was large, complete with a small lake and a medicine garden, exuding its own special aesthetic. Suddenly, Xianxia opened his eyes, exhaling turbid air. Lifting his right hand, he saw his palm was darkened, and his expression turned peculiar. Upon returning to the beginningless, this power calms down. Could it be that it fears the Tao intent within the beginningless? Xianxia murmured to himself, recalling that when facing his ancestor, he could feel the mysterious power in his palm extremely nervous, shrinking almost to a point. He had initially been distressed about how to overcome the temptation of this power. Now, it seemed as long as he remained within the beginningless, he need not worry about this power. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 804. In the early morning, the sunlight pierced through the earth. Guan, dressed in a close-fitting white robe, walked out of the pavilion, stretching lazily under the bright sun. Today is another day full of hope. Guan sincerely sighed, harboring thoughts of a major breakthrough, an event awaited for millions of years and his happiest day, full of excitement. Even though he tried to remind himself that he was already a person of great power and should not be so excited, he couldn't help it. After thinking about it, which cultivator facing a breakthrough could remain calm? Moreover, compared to others, Guan had more confidence. He even felt that he would surely succeed in breaking through, and with such a mentality, he naturally felt more excited. Xianxia glanced at Guan from in front of the artifact refining cauldron. Without making a sound, she closed her eyes and continued practicing. After strolling in the courtyard for a while, Guan left. He walked into the woods along the mountain path, activating the lifespan breakthrough function as he walked. You have activated the lifespan breakthrough function. Based on your current realm, select the following breakthrough location. 1. Primal Harmony of Chaos. 2. Sea of Descent. 3. Holy Heart Path. 4. Rulai Star 5. Dao Qinglian Tree. 6. Great Dream Lost Realm. 7. Boundless Yin Yang Inverted Realm. 8. Final End. 9. Demon God Lake. So many new place names. This means that previously common places cannot give birth to existences higher than primordial profound venerable immortal. Guan weighed the options, as some of the place names sounded dangerous. However, the lifespan breakthrough can send him to relatively safe places, at least temporarily, as long as he promptly activates the lifespan barrier. In such a case, Guan wanted to choose the broadest place possible. Search * the novel. F. Iyer. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan's gaze fell on the final end. This place name had appeared before, and the combination of the words final and end made his imagination run wild. Does the great Tao truly have an end? Is there really an ultimate to the years? Or is it just a name without any significant meaning? The final end should be very vast, right? After much thought, Guan decided to take a look. Transporting to the final end requires consuming 10 billion years of lifespan. Do you wish to continue? Continue. Despite reaching such a level, the transportation cost of lifespan breakthrough remains unchanged, which is quite fair. A long-lost dizziness hit him, making Guan close his eyes. After a while, Guan abruptly opened his eyes. His pupils suddenly contracted. In his sight was a dark red void endless, with barren stars of all sizes floating around. As far as the eye could see, dark clouds seemed to be swirling at the end of the void. Everything was so oppressive. He immediately activated the lifespan barrier. As the lifespan barrier consumption prompt appeared in front of him, he relaxed. After activating the barrier, he seriously observed the final end. He discovered the Tao spiritual qi surging here was different from the spiritual energy of the heavenly Tao and chaos, filled with an agitating aura, but he had to admit, the Tao spiritual qi here was stronger. He turned around to look in all directions, but he couldn't see the supposed end in any direction. As expected, the final end is just a gimmick. Guan was secretly disappointed. Just then, his gaze fell on a corner of the void. He saw a star slowly condensing, growing larger, resembling a barren meteor, with no vegetation, no vitality. As his gaze concentrated on the star, endless cause and effect scenes poured into his eyes. This star surprisingly symbolized a great thousand world, a world containing millions of small worlds, with countless mortal worlds like Earth. However, such a magnificent great thousand world no longer existed. It was a mark left after destruction. Guan immediately looked at other barren stars. Not only the great thousand worlds, but also powerful Taoist lineages, cosmic planes, Tao domains etc., were all marks left after being destroyed. He even saw a type of destiny, similar to the destiny of Taoist emperors and primordial Tao emperors. The destiny star conveyed multitude scenes of cause and effect, where countless cultivators pursued this destiny, dominating and spirited, but ultimately fell with its dissipation. This kind of destiny he had never felt on the path of the great Tao, but seeing its peak, it was definitely not comparable to Taoist emperors and primordial Tao emperors. Hongmeng Venerable. Guan secretly noted the name of this destiny. Perhaps someone still remembered its existence. Now, Guan could understand what the final end was, a place independent of chaos and the heavenly Tao. From here, one couldn't feel the direction of chaos and the heavenly Tao, but whether chaos or the heavenly Tao, the mighty things after extinction left marks here. Guan couldn't understand why the final end formed as it did. The 3,000 Great Taos is just a term. In reality, the Great Taos are innumerable, always with unknown Tao rules existing. But he knew one thing. This place could give birth to existences surpassing the primordial profound venerable immortal. What an unimaginably terrifying existence could be born in such a negative and oppressive place. Guan suddenly felt that the heavenly Tao was small, and even chaos couldn't represent everything. Perhaps the celestial emperor immersing himself in reincarnation wasn't indulgence, but searching for an opportunity to break into a higher realm. Guan took a deep breath, meditating where he was, floating in the void, as if there was invisible land beneath him. First, enhance the physique. Last time upgrading the physique consumed 5 trillion years of lifespan, not seeming much but compared to last time, it was more than 100-fold increase. If this time also increased 100-fold, it would be 500 trillion years of lifespan. This number was quite terrifying. Guan invested lifespan into the physique, one amount after another. Soon, the investment exceeded 5 trillion years of lifespan. Finally he spent 1.2 quadrillion years of lifespan, and his physique ascended to the creation essence body. This was already equivalent to his lifespan consumption when he last broke through a great realm. Guan didn't have time to grieve the life-consuming physique upgrade before an unprecedentedly vast creation flooded into his mind. Profound abyss divine pool. Guan's avatar and Hongya walked on the wasteland. He walked ahead. Hongya followed behind. Hongya held a stone in his hand, like a small knife, inscribed with 2 characters, furrowing his brows in deep thought. Years had passed, and they had yet to escape the predicament. This land seemed endless. Even flying into the sky or digging into the ground was fruitless. Just then, a glow of sunset rushed from behind, swiftly sweeping over the dim celestial vault, brightening the whole world. Hongya looked up, seeing the celestial vault not only lit by the glow of sunset but also appearing in a wave-like distortion. What is this phenomenon? Hongya asked. Having adventured with Guan for so long, he had unknowingly developed a dependence on him. Guan looked up, secretly amazed. The creation essence body is indeed formidable, without yet breaking through a great realm, just improving the physique. The phenomenon can be transmitted from the final end to the underworld. His avatar in the hidden spirit palace of the celestial spirit great world opened his eyes. Seeing the 3,000 great worlds and the path of the great Tao experiencing similar phenomena, the glow of sunset illuminating all beings. Such a commotion might alarm the celestial court. Luckily, he broke through at the final end. The heavenly court immortals should not be able to trace it there. Even so, the creation essence body alone was such What kind of upheaval would his breakthrough to a great realm cause? Guan had a slight worry in his heart. Would it push the Celestial Emperor out of hiding? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 805. Breakthrough. Perfection of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao. Above the sea of clouds, Li Xuanmiao and the Celestial Destruction God flew side by side, glancing ahead, seeing many immortal gods flying in the same direction, and the distant celestial vault was flowing with a beautiful glow. Could it be that the dark heavenly court is attacking? Li Xuanmiao asked, raising his eyebrows. In the battle for the Son of Heaven, there were shadows of dark creatures at work. He had fought against dark creatures and was filled with apprehension towards the dark heavenly court. The dark heavenly court was outside the celestial court, yet the celestial court had not taken action, indicating that they were not confident in dealing with the dark heavenly court. Once the dark heavenly court launched an attack on the celestial court, it would inevitably lead to long-term turmoil. Li Xuanmiao was eager to retreat and become stronger, not wanting to keep fighting. Probably not. The celestial order only asked us to assemble. If the dark heavenly court was attacking, Songtian would take the lead. The celestial destruction god responded, the name Songtian evoking wild thoughts in Li Xuanmiao. He had heard of Songtian for years upon arriving at the celestial court, but never witnessed Kangxian's might. It is said that Songtian is not only the will of the heavenly Tao but also the celestial court's most powerful weapon, whose heavenly might eradicates countless evil demons. They stopped speaking and continued forward. Soon, they reached the assembly point of the immortal gods, still above the sea of clouds, but this portion was gathered by countless immortal gods, some towering millions of feet tall, others suspended above like divine beasts. Looking around, it was spectacular beyond words, boundless and magnificent. Xianxia the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In front of all the immortal gods, the end of the sky presented an illusory scene, seemingly leading to another cosmic plane. Inside was the chaos void, a terrifying black fog quietly surging without approaching the heavenly Tao, encircling the heaven-suppressing endless tower. Li Xuanmiao and the celestial destruction god landed among the immortal gods, secretly astounded, for even the celestial destruction god had never seen so many immortal gods assembled together. The foundation of the celestial court was truly terrifying. After a moment of reflection, Li Xuanmiao turned his gaze to the space-time entrance ahead, feeling uneasy looking at the black fog. It was clear that something extremely dangerous lay within. It seems unrelated to the dark heavenly court. Yes, there are similar glowing anomalies deep within chaos. Could it be an almighty being breaking through? What cultivation level would it take to stir chaos and the heavenly Tao? The immortal servant I left in the underworld told me there are similar phenomena there too. Speaking of which, in recent years, anomalies have been cropping up frequently. Not a good omen. If it's about breaking limits, how many powerful beings might have secretly arisen? Why are they hiding? Their intentions must be speculated upon. The immortal gods were discussing among themselves, while Li Xuanmiao quietly listened, picking up a lot of intelligence, including names of many non-celestial court forces. The world outside the celestial court was far vaster than he had imagined. The 3,000 great worlds might not be worth mentioning to the celestial court because there are many more powerful forces and enigmatic domains worthy of its caution. What exactly will happen? Li Xuanmiao felt tense, his gaze tightly fixed on the chaotic scene far ahead. An hour later, the glow on the celestial vault began to fade, allowing all the immortal gods to breathe a sigh of relief. However, not long after, the celestial vault displayed countless lightning bolts like snakes silently intertwining. At first glance, the vault seemed to fracture instantly, terrifying, causing the recently relaxed immortal gods to tense up again. The previous glow phenomenon, though attracting the attention of beings across realms, did not appear frightening, so the realms remained relatively peaceful. But with the emergence of new anomalies, all living beings were scared. Even the various battlegrounds of the Son of Heaven conflict were disturbed. All forces were investigating the source of the anomaly, especially the celestial court, but to no avail. Final end. Floating in the void, Guan opened his eyes, his left pupil deep red, right pupil silver blue, seemingly harboring two lotus flowers. He exhaled a breath of impure air. His infinite eternal Tao technique had been upgraded to the infinite supreme merging Tao skill, consuming nearly 20 trillion years of lifespan. Tao Qi eternal divine sense was upgraded to the mind-only Tao Qi divine technique, consuming nearly 4 trillion years of lifespan. This was his critical Taoist technique for hiding cultivation level, indispensable, still enhancing his divine soul and Qi blood. The 3,000 slaying Tao swords were upgraded to the no death no life heaven slaying sword, consuming nearly 3 trillion years of lifespan. The great primordial celestial net step was upgraded to the Hongmeng 3,000 steps, consuming nearly 8 trillion years of lifespan. This step technique shifted from shuttle divine power to attack divine power, annihilating a Tao in one step, after 3,000 steps, rendering all Taoist techniques and cultivation of the enemy into nothingness. The great Tao formless body was upgraded to the infinite eternal Tao body, consuming nearly 20 trillion years of lifespan. The demon shadow divine skill had greatly aided Guen, never being abandoned. This divine skill formed a Tao of its own, with endless wondrous methods, enabling someone to attain the Tao. The absolute void eye was upgraded to the extreme demon and immortal pupil, consuming the most lifespan, nearly 60 trillion years. These were his main life-consuming Taoist techniques, and he mastered many more techniques that he wouldn't upgrade one by one. Next was the main event, breaking through the great realm. Looking at the current situation where only a small fraction of his total lifespan was consumed, Guen felt fully assured. This time, he would break through successfully without any concern. He directly invested 1 trillion years of lifespan into cultivation level. Within the next hour, chaos, the heavenly Tao, and the underworld faced an exceedingly terrifying upheaval, the Tao rules shivering. Nature's spiritual energy turned into a storm, and the minds of all living beings in immortal cultivation were plunged into overwhelming oppression, with a feeling of suffocating pressure. The celestial vaults of all realms kept changing colors, anomalies appeared one after another. Even bizarre mirage-like scenes occurred, dazzling the eyes. As time passed, all cultivators felt a tremor. The beings within the Taoist field of the beginningless felt better, but they were nonetheless attracted by the constant anomaly mutations in the sky. Within the courtyard, an Xian, celestial demon child, Shenzhen, fairy Yaoxian, and other female cultivators gathered together, while the male cultivators gathered in the distance, discussing the celestial anomaly. The Son of Heaven conflict has just seen a variable, and we now face such anomalies. Xianxia shook her head, her words sounding like worry, yet her face was full of excited and anticipative expressions. Fairy Yaoxian stood at the edge of the crowd, gazing up at the celestial vault, her brow furrowed. She had spent millions of years adapting to the new era, but faced with such a greatly changing anomaly, she still couldn't see through it. Her intuition told her this anomaly was far more frightening than she imagined. "What are you chatting about?" A gentle laugh came, causing the women to turn their heads. They saw Guen in white clothes entering the courtyard, with his usual smile, instantly dispelling all the unease and tension in their hearts. If Guen was calm, so were they. "Ancestor, what is the reason for this anomaly?" asked the impatient Xianxia. Guen stopped, looked toward the celestial vault, and said, "This anomaly covers the 3,000 great worlds, envelopes the entire heavenly Tao, chaos too, and even the underworld is mirrored." This remark caused everyone's expression to change drastically. How great a cause and effect must it be? "I don't know either, but with such a vast range, it shouldn't pose a threat to us. If the heavens fell, the celestial court would hold it up." Guen shook his head and smiled. He had already broken through successfully. Unlike before, he had broken through to the perfection realm in one go, but the anomalies of this realm were truly terrifying. Even after his breakthrough ended, they hadn't dispersed, influencing all heavens and myriad realms. At this moment, he had already stepped into a higher tier. Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao. Perfection Realm. While conversing with everyone, he was also meticulously sensing the changes in himself, genuinely delightful, making it impossible for him to hide his smile. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 806. Integrating into the Great Tao. Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao, a transcendent existence surpassing the primordial profound venerable immortal. Just how powerful is this realm? Simply put, in Guan's eyes, the entire heavenly Tao no longer holds any mystery. Both the past and the future are in his sight. He saw the birth of the heavenly Tao, indeed initiated by a supremely powerful existence. He saw the end of the heavenly Tao, likewise concluded by a supremely powerful being. Not only that, he leaps out of cause and effect, and no one can find his past or future. Even if they visit the past or future of his acquaintances, he remains unseen. In the realm of merging Tao, he can integrate himself into the great Tao, coexisting with and enduring alongside the Tao. How can the Tao perish? In a certain sense, as long as he merges with the Tao, he will not die, which is true longevity and immortality. Even if he just steps into the early stage of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao, he transcends everything, eternally carefree, and upon reaching the perfection realm, Guan feels his physical body has become indistinguishable from the Tao. This is an incomparably perfect realm, so powerful that it defies description with words. Indeed, the celestial court is no pushover. I've heard the struggle for the Son of Heaven isn't over yet. Could these anomalies be related to that struggle? Very likely, there is a Son of Heaven sending chaos evil demons into battle, truly resorting to any means. I hope the struggle for the Son of Heaven ends soon. I can't focus on my seclusion, afraid an enemy might invade at any moment. What you say sounds amusing. Do you really need to protect heaven and earth? An Xian, celestial demon child, celestial Xian, and others discussed in the courtyard. With Guan's words present, their mindset became relaxed, even shifting their topic to the struggle for the Son of Heaven. Guan looked up. Though standing in this tiny courtyard, his vision could overlook the entirety of the heavenly Tao. He saw the Celestial Emperor. The Celestial Emperor sat at the highest point of the celestial court, and throughout the range of the heavenly Tao, there were more than 10 million reincarnation bodies of his, some distributed in the past, others experiencing the future, with endless insights into the Tao flowing into his true body through cause and effect. In that highest palace, dark and silent, the Celestial Emperor supported his head with his hand, seemingly resting, yet his posture radiated the most terrifying aura, as if nothing could disturb him. Even the phenomena caused by Guan's breakthrough couldn't make him open his eyes. Guan could sense that the Celestial Emperor was also a Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao. His cultivation was no weaker than Guan's, but not vastly stronger either, meaning both were within the same great realm. Besides the Celestial Emperor, within the range of the heavenly Tao, there was no third Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao. However, there were several primordial profound venerable immortals, all hidden deep within the celestial court, likely those few celestial Tao venerables dwelling in areas Guan couldn't previously discern in the celestial court. Celestial Emperor, I've caught up, and I will surpass you. I hope that when we cross paths in the future, my strength will please you. Guan's lips curved upward, his smile radiant. Because of the life of Guxuan Yu, he held no hostility toward the Celestial Emperor, even harboring some goodwill, only regarding the Celestial Emperor as an imagined rival to spur his own strength. Xianxia happened to see Guan's expression, and her eyes shifted slightly, involuntarily showing a smile on her face. This sweeping phenomenon involving chaos and the heavenly Tao lasted for several hours, dissipating only when night fell. The celestial spirit great world returned to tranquility, yet Guan could see the celestial court was in chaos, with primordial profound venerable immortal realm celestial Tao venerables hastening to chaos. But this no longer pertained to Guan. After successfully breaking through, he did not go into seclusion but instead repeated his daily routine, experiencing the specific wonders of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao in ordinary life. 3 years later, Guan came to the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance to visit old acquaintances. He stood before a mountain gate, calling up his attribute panel. Name, Guan. Lifespan, 29,684, 473/14, 101, 880, 574, 623, 609. Physique. Creation Essence Body. Cultivation Level. Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao Realm Perfection. The breakthrough 3 years ago consumed 22 trillion years of his lifespan, leaving only a remainder. Yet this remainder still represented an immensely vast number in lifespan. Guan could feel that the next great realm he wished to reach would be far more difficult than before, fearing that 100-fold, 1,000-fold lifespan would be severely inadequate. This intuition was strong, almost certainly true, and this was the strength of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao. All sensations were prophecies, a prejudgment of the 3,000 Great Tao. Guan contemplated higher realms while looking at his attribute panel. His location was mid-mountain, before him a majestic stone gate, and behind him lay vast and magnificent hills and rivers. At first glance, this seemed not like an immortal cultivation sect but rather a place remote from the mundane world. Suddenly, ripples appeared within the stone gate ahead, like a watery surface, and a human silhouette emerged. A young male disciple approached Guan, glanced at him suspiciously, and spoke, "My ancestor wishes to see you. Please follow me in." In the young disciple's eyes, Guan was indeed astonishingly handsome, yet by his aura, he seemed but an ordinary celestial and earthly immortal. How could such a cultivation merit a personal audience with his ancestor? Though full of confusion, he dared not be careless. Guan smiled with a nod, then followed him through the stone gate. Passing through the gate, the heavens abruptly changed before him. The mountain ranges continued, yet each peak housed pavilions, palaces, pagodas, and every mountaintop shone with rays of light, akin to an immortal land. Under the guidance of the young disciple, Guan flew toward the most majestic giant mountain. Along the way, passing disciples greeted the young disciple, clearly indicating his esteemed status in this little world. After a while, the two landed before a palace at the mountain's summit, where the heavens were not seen overhead, but instead, a vast starry sky. "Our ancestor is inside. You may enter on your own." The young disciple gestured with his hand, and Guan nodded, then opened the palace doors and walked in. Once the doors closed, the young disciple withdrew his gaze, turned, and flew down the mountain, his mind pondering the origins of Guan. Could this person be a descendant of the ancestor? Inside the palace, the sight was bright. Spirit mist drifted along the ground. As Guan walked, he glanced at the stone pillars along the path, and began to chant. Qi cultivation, foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul, divinity transformation, void crossing, fusion, Xuanxin, Mahayana, nirvana, loose immortal, wandering immortal, celestial and earthly immortals, carefree primordial immortal, divine immortal of wondrous dharma, Tao void profound immortal, divine thought true immortal, free immortal, Taoist zong zizai immortal, profound yuan free immortal, heaven encompassing free immortal, innate golden immortal. CTH Novelfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan's voice echoed within the hall, and upon finishing, he looked ahead and grinned. "For realms beyond innate golden immortal, do you need me to inscribe them on the pillar?" Following his gaze, a figure stood atop distant steps. It was Ji Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoyu had her hands behind her, fixing her gaze on Guan. She calmly spoke. "With your capability, you could have come directly, yet you had me send someone to invite you. It seems you relish pretending to be weak. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 807. Vast Disparity. What do you mean pretending to be weak? If I do not participate in worldly causes and effects, whether I am strong or weak, what does it matter? Guan walked toward Ji Xiaoyu, smiling as he replied. Ji Xiaoyu was dressed in a luxurious purple robe, exuding an aura of noble and transcendent beauty, possessing both the elegance of a fairy and the powerful presence of someone in authority. Upon hearing Guan's words, she slightly pursed her lips and said, "Such an arrogant tone." She stepped down the stairs, continuing, "If you wish to speak, I won't refuse. Coincidentally, I want to learn more about the realms beyond the innate golden immortal." Guan laughed. The golden immortal Tao fruit is also divided into 3 layers. Innate golden immortal, heaven-balancing golden immortal, and Tai Ching golden immortal. The celestial gods guarding the 3,000 great worlds often have cultivation levels around the heaven-balancing golden immortal realm. As he spoke, he took out the fate pen and casually swept it, adding the names of 2 realms, heaven-balancing golden immortal and Tai Ching golden immortal, to the foremost stone pillars. Upon hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu squinted her eyes and asked, "What is your realm?" Guan smiled but remained silent. "Judging by your demeanor, is your realm higher than Tai Ching golden immortal?" Ji Xiaoyu snorted. When she saw that Guan's smile didn't change, she was secretly startled. She had thought Guan was just a Tai Ching golden immortal. This guy, Although Ji Xiaoyu was surprised, considering Gu An's few interventions, even on the path of the Great Tao, none could compare. Surpassing Tai Ching Golden Immortal equates to surpassing the power of most celestial gods, which is reasonable upon reflection. Though understanding is one thing, realizing that Guan surpassed Tai Ching Golden Immortal, she still felt bewildered. Guan listened to her inner thoughts, secretly thinking, "Indeed, I am above Tai Ching Golden Immortal, with 5 realms in between." He arrived in front of Ji Xiaoyu, glanced around and asked, "Do you usually reside here in seclusion?" "Yes, the factions of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance are complex. I don't want to get involved in too many causes and effects, so I seldom venture out." Ji Xiaoyu replied, currently still in the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm, just a step away from the innate golden immortal, but unable to break through that step. Sar the Oval Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. She wasn't in a hurry since those who can achieve innate golden immortal have lived for a long time. Her age compared to these great powers is still far behind. Yet, with Gu An's arrival, she felt a sense of urgency. Continuing like this, she might soon give up her determination to pursue Guan. Guan looked at her and said, "Going out occasionally is beneficial, aiding enlightenment. The Tao is not entirely found through secluded hard practice alone. The existence of the reincarnation tribulation is to guide beings toward the Tao. You can also visit the Taoist field of the beginningless sometimes. The 9-spirit continent has become quite lively these days." Listening to Gu An's words, Ji Xiaoyu gazed fixedly at him. Their eyes met, both without any fluctuations. "When I headed to outer heaven, I thought it would be a farewell to you, but in the end, I returned. When pursuing the Taoist emperor along the path of the Great Tao, I thought for the second time we'd be separated forever. Now, I'm entirely rooted in the celestial spirit great world, seemingly unable to sever our ties for eternity." Ji Xiaoyu spoke in a calm tone, causing Guan to raise his eyebrows. "What? Do you hold a grudge against me? If you really wish for eternal separation, I simply won't come anymore," Guan said helplessly. Upon hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu's eyes showed subtle changes. She replied, "I just don't want to burden you, and pursuing the Great Tao must rely on oneself, at least that's how I view it." Guan understood her true thoughts, which was why he didn't get angry. He said wryly, "According to your view, do you wish to remain forever alone?" Ji Xiaoyu paused in silence, then asked, "Is there anything I can do for you? Why don't you show me around? I find this place quite interesting," Guan said with a gentle smile. Ji Xiaoyu didn't reject the idea. She nodded slightly, then began to lead the way, walking in front of Guan, who followed closely. Walking ahead of Guan, her lips slightly upturned but quickly returned to normal. Thus, Guan followed Ji Xiaoyu around her dojo. To avoid suspicion, Ji Xiaoyu donned a hat and a veil. In the blink of an eye, 2 days passed. On this day, Ji Xiaoyu escorted Guan to the mountain gate. As the formation at the gate closed, only the 2 of them remained on the cliff. Guan turned toward Ji Xiaoyu and said, "If you encounter a mortal fate in the future, do not accept it." Ji Xiaoyu asked, "Why?" She didn't think Guan simply didn't want her to leave. There must be a special reason, perhaps the reason he came to find her. In her view, Guan couldn't have come merely for leisure. Because it will be a trap. If you wish to ascend to immortality, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future, and I'll tell you when. Guan responded. This made Ji Xiaoyu's gaze toward him filled with deep meaning. She was curious about just how far Gu An's eyes could see into the future. Guan continued, "Since you want to become an innate golden immortal, I will assist you in achieving it." As he finished speaking, Guan suddenly waved his sleeve, and a gentle breeze blew toward Ji Xiaoyu, lifting her hat, revealing astonishment on her cool and beautiful face. She stood frozen in place, regaining consciousness only after several breaths. By the time she returned to awareness, Gu An's presence was gone, and she widened her eyes in shock, discovering her Tao fruit had transformed, with unfamiliar energy surging within. Soon, she realized she had achieved the innate golden immortal realm. No celestial tribulation. Directly transformed into it. She instinctively thought she was dreaming, yet she couldn't find Gu An's figure anymore. She immediately entered the stone gate to confirm she was in the real world. Meanwhile, Guan arrived at the Xiao family city to find Xiao Lan, roaming the streets and sensing Ji Xiaoyu's changes. This was the strength of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Dao, able to forcibly elevate others' realms without any drawbacks. The reason there's no need to cross the tribulation is that he used his Dao intent. Now Ji Xiaoyu just needs to slowly adapt to the new realm's transformation to completely become an innate golden immortal. Guan couldn't help but think of the celestial court, whose destiny could rapidly strengthen mortal spirits without any side effects. Isn't this the ability of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Dao? Could it be that all heavenly court immortals were promoted by the Celestial Emperor? If so, it makes sense. The Celestial Emperor wouldn't fear the immortals' rebellion, nor fear the Son of Heaven growing powerful, as the immortal's strength derives from him. To create so many heavenly court immortals, the Celestial Emperor's cultivation level is indeed terrifying. However, the Celestial Emperor hasn't exposed this point, instead allowing Congtian and the Heavenly Dao to substitute for his function. Guan wasn't planning to forcefully help disciples break through realms unless they hit a limit. Even when assisting those around him, Guan won't reveal the intricate wonders of it, as they are simply too unbelievable. Moreover, for the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Dao, having more subordinates is pointless. No matter how many strong people are under the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Dao, combined, they can't rival him. Moreover, he and the Celestial Emperor stand in the Perfection realm. On the Heavenly Dao scope, there are only two Supreme Emperors of Ultimate Merging Dao, both in the Perfection realm, and their gap with all beings is astoundingly vast. Why do I suddenly relate to the Celestial Emperor's arrogance? Guan chuckled, shaking his head. He felt this mindset was unacceptable, just as the Celestial Emperor couldn't foresee him rising unknowingly. Perhaps another Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Dao might emerge in the future without either him or the Celestial Emperor realizing. No matter what, he must never be conceited. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 808. Another side of the Patriarch. The passage of time resembles a spinning wheel and is as merciless as flowing water, erasing worldly grudges, disasters, and happiness. Regardless of good or bad, all will pass before the sands of time. The contest for the title of Son of Heaven is no exception, and its progress is accelerating. After 3 million years, the 3,000 great worlds have all fallen under Shenyuan human venerables' dominion, bringing peace to various realms. Following a great calamity, these realms enter a new era, receiving blessings from the Heavenly Dao, with all things reborn. While the 3,000 great worlds are rejoicing, the contest for the title of Son of Heaven still has one crucial final battle. The celestial spirit great world remains in peace, yet the number of little worlds from outer heaven is increasing. Ji Xiaoyu's attainment of innate golden immortal status has not been spread widely. She chooses to hide her cultivation level, continuing to pretend as the heaven-encompassing free immortal, and uses her unique qi concealment technique. This year as spring begins, and Zizai takes Xianxia into the bamboo forest to find Guan. This bamboo grove has become Guan's exclusive domain, where others dare not tread lightly. After many years, Xianxia has become a free immortal and is now pursuing the path of primordial Dao Emperor. He wears a black shirt and white robe, with his long hair bound at the top by 2 bamboo hairpins, his expression solemn, embodying the aura of a seasoned sage. Coming before Guan, the two respectfully salute Guan. You may return first. Guan tells Zizai, who upon hearing this, can only suppress his curiosity and turn to leave. Facing the ancestor alone, Xianxia, who usually fears neither heaven nor earth, now feels somewhat nervous, his breath becoming unsteady. Guan sits on the steps in front of the pavilion. He gestures for Xianxia to sit on the ground, and Xianxia promptly complies. I called you here because I intend to personally teach you. Do you know why I am willing to instruct you? Guan asks, as he toys with the 7-star mirror, once the immortal path ultimate treasure of the 7-star spirit realm, now transformed into a Dao treasure, containing the power to suppress a side of the great thousand world. Xianxia replies, is it because of ancestor? He would not arrogantly believe that it is due to his own character that the ancestor appreciates him. Presently, there are countless Wuxia disciples, many with remarkable talent, yet none have seen the ancestor instruct anyone. Guan laughs. He is just one reason. It's also because of your master. Let me tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone, including your master. Xianxia becomes intrigued and quickly agrees. Guan begins to narrate tales from his time at the Supreme Sect, focusing on his interactions with LV Batian, soon captivating Xianxia, immersing him in the story. He seems transported into the tale, witnessing Guan and LV Batian, who has transformed into Elder Tian, walking and chatting in the medicine garden. Xianxia had heard many stories about the ancestor before, but those were mostly legends of the ancestor saving the world. Hearing a simple story of the ancestor interacting with others was a first. Very simple, yet full of flavor, calming his spirit. Hearing about LV Batian restoring his identity, always wanting to pass his cultivation level to Guan and urging him to become the sect leader, causes Xianxia to smile involuntarily. Once Guan finishes speaking, he himself drifts into reminiscence. Xianxia asks, "Ancestor, is my master a descendant of senior LV Batian?" The ancestor indeed seems to be someone who cherishes old friendships. Guan glances at him smiling. "No. He is the reincarnation of LV Batian. The cultivation technique I imparted to him was once taught to me by his prior incarnation." Xianxia widens his eyes with an expression of disbelief. To him, the tales of Guan and LV Batian should stem from an unfathomably distant past, so far back that it transcends thousands, tens of thousands of reincarnation cycles. Given such reincarnation, it's seemingly impossible to find a familiar face. Guan continues, "I am indifferent to your cultivation achievements, nor concerned about how many you may aid in the future. As long as you do not commit evil, do not harm fellow disciples. Even if you accomplish nothing, I will not expel you from Wuxia. Presently, I pass the cultivation technique to you in consideration of your master. I hope you can become your master's pride, as his former incarnation always aspired to nurture an exceptional disciple." Xianxia listens attentively, pondering for a moment before solemnly nodding his head. He doesn't feel disappointed by this. Instead, he finds the ancestor magnanimous and sincere, expressing a swaggering boldness that fears no change. He also hopes to become such a person. Guan raises his hand and sends out the 7-star mirror. The mirror floats in mid-air, the surface reflecting a beam of white light, which reveals a scene of the dark void within. "Let's watch a battle first," Guan says with a smile, and with a gesture from his right hand, a wine jug from the pavilion flies into his hand. A battle? Curious, Xianxia's gaze turns to the dark void ahead, witnessing two figures approaching each other. "Who are they?" Xianxia cannot resist asking. Guan responds, "Sons of Heaven, the two who plunged the 3,000 great worlds into a millennium-long catastrophe. They are about to have their final showdown." "Sons of Heaven." Xianxia's eyes widen, turning to Guan with an expression of disbelief. The current celestial spirit Great World has already formed links with the 3,000 Great Worlds, coupled with the presence of the 10,000 Realms Gate. So Xianxia is aware of the battle for the title of Son of Heaven. Such a narrative feels incredibly distant to him. In his mind, the celestial court even seems to be above the beginningless realm. Within the beginningless, no one can compare to the Son of Heaven. The ancestor can, astonishingly, glimpse the Sons of Heaven's duel from within the dojo. And the two Sons of Heaven are completely unaware. What kind of technique is this? What kind of cultivation level could achieve this? Xianxia is both shocked and thrilled. Disciples have always known the ancestor is powerful, but the true extent of that power remains unseen to all. Today, the ancestor's demonstration, though not earth-shattering, has shattered his perception. Watching the ancestor's serene and tranquil smile, Xianxia's thoughts swirl. At this moment, a booming sound emanates from the strong light of the 7-star mirror, capturing his attention. He sees the two Sons of Heaven already engaged in battle. The scene instantly pulls back, yet even so, the mana of both Sons of Heaven fills the entire view. Occasionally, he sees the two Sons of Heaven grow in size, battling with Dharma aspect, then shrink, with the scene changing to appear in other universes, the battle moving so rapidly that he daren't blink. Although indistinct, he senses the two Sons of Heaven's terrifying strength. Ping, the sound of the mirror shattering reaches him. Xianxia watches the scene, feeling as if the universe was being smashed apart, with the dark void quickly turning into an intense red. 9 Heaven's true dragon Qi. Father Emperor indeed dotes on you. Shenyuan Human Venerable's voice rings out. Icy cold. S.E. the novel, F. Iyer. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Another voice accompanies it. Humph, that's because my aptitude is sufficient for cultivation. Though we are both sons of heaven, the disparity in talent is truly present. Following this, Xianxia sees dragons appearing out of thin air, relentlessly attacking each other, half golden, half black, seemingly two hordes of dragons locked in battle, each enormous, with stars beside them akin to grains of sand. How do you also possess 9 heavens true dragon chi? Great immortal divine Yuan's voice sounds again, laden with shock and anger. You're right, there is indeed a talent gap between us. Shen Yuan human venerable replies with contempt. Guan watches their 9 heavens true dragon chi, his thoughts drifting. He recalls the final battle between Guxuan Yu and Taihao, where they too wielded 9 heavens true dragon chi. Yet compared to them, Shen Yuan human venerable and great immortal divine Yuan's 9 heavens true dragon chi pales in significance. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 809. 10 Immortal Positions. The battle between the great immortal divine Yuan and Shen Yuan human venerable ultimately ended with Shen Yuan human venerable emerging victorious, reducing the great immortal divine Yuan to ashes, with no chance of resurrection for another fight. Afterward, Shen Yuan human venerable stood alone in the shattered void, gazing upward as if looking at the mysterious and elusive Congtian. This battle of the Son of Heaven lasted a full day and night, which was relatively short for their realm, and Xianxia watched with great interest. Although most of the time, he couldn't see the details of the battle between the two sons of heaven, he still watched with relish, as if witnessing the evolution of a myth. Guan put away the 7-star mirror, causing the image suspended before them to dissipate. He stood up and stretched lazily. Xianxia quickly got up, nervously looking at Guan. Is it time to cultivate? He was both eager and nervous to be personally taught by the ancestor. He feared disappointing the ancestor because he had never been the most insightful in his generation. His talent often seemed mediocre compared to his peers. Guan looked at Xianxia and smiled, saying, I will only teach once. How much you can comprehend depends entirely on your fortune. These words made Xianxia even more nervous, and he could only nod cautiously. Sunlight streamed through the bamboo forest, falling upon the two, imparting a sense of harmony and the beauty of tranquil times. The battle of the Son of Heaven has ended. For the all-living beings across all realms, once their great world is no longer plagued by evil demons, the battle is over. But for the sects across the realms, the real highlight is after Shen Yuan human venerable's victory. Will the Son of Heaven fulfill his promise? Do they have a chance to ascend to immortality? Sar the novel _fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Ultimately, Shen Yuan human venerable did not disappoint, choosing a group of meritorious great cultivators to go to the celestial court and sending Sichuan old immortal to travel across the 3,000 great worlds to reward deeds according to merit. About 1,000 years have passed since the battle of the Son of Heaven. In late summer that year, Shen Yuan human venerable, accompanied by Sichuan old immortal, came to visit Guan and sent Zizai to receive them, and they met again at the mountain viewing pavilion. Before leaving, Zizai couldn't help but glance at Shen Yuan human venerable one more time. This person was the Son of Heaven. He speculated internally. The battle of the Son of Heaven has ended, so why does the Son of Heaven come to visit the ancestor? Did the ancestor play a crucial role in the battle? Zizai suddenly thought of a legend he heard not long ago about a divine sparrow with colorful rays at its tail end sweeping across the 3,000 great worlds, exterminating countless evil demons, thus changing the course of the battle of the Son of Heaven. With a heart full of confusion, he left, not daring to disturb Guan's conversation with the other two. After he departed, Shen Yuan human venerable respectfully bowed to Guan, raising his hand in salute, appearing much more humble than during his last visit. Sichuan old immortal followed suit, looking at Guan with gratitude and awe. When he sought Guan's assistance, he dreamed that Guan could help Shen Yuan human venerable, but he never expected that Guan could single-handedly change the tide, even against the Dao extreme Daluo immortal of the celestial court. Incredibly, Guan himself did not appear in person, simply relying on a divine sparrow to change the dynamics. Sit down and let's chat, Guan smiled as he waved his right hand. A formless force lifted the hands of the two immortals, prompting them to straighten their posture. Then, they followed Guan to take their seats. Shenyuan Human Venerable looked at Guan and asked, "Could I possibly see that divine sparrow?" Sichuan Old Immortal took the initiative to pick up the teapot on the table to pour tea for Guan, and upon hearing Shenyuan Human Venerable's request, he too looked at Guan expectantly. Guan smiled, raised his right hand, and immediately, a colorful light flew from outside the pavilion, swiftly landing on his arm. As the radiance faded, the figure of the Wuxia divine sparrow emerged. It appeared similar in size to a chicken, although majestic. Shenyuan Human Venerable and Sichuan Old Immortal could not quite reconcile this with the image of a divine sparrow that traversed the 3,000 great worlds. "What is the origin of such a spiritual entity?" asked Sichuan Old Immortal curiously. The Wuxia divine sparrow perched on Guan's arm, shaking its head as if dazed, but considering it was able to repel the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal, despite feeling shocked, Sichuan Old Immortal dared not underestimate it. Guan stroked the head of the Wuxia divine sparrow and smiled. "It has no grand origins, it has just been cultivating by my side." These words made Shenyuan Human Venerable and Sichuan Old Immortal feel a surge of awe. Simply staying by his side can achieve the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal realm? What audacious language! Even in the celestial court, it's not about having enough time for cultivation to reach the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal level. To achieve the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal requires immeasurable merit, and Shenyuan Human Venerable dared not imagine himself achieving the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal yet. Guan slightly raised his right hand, prompting the Wuxia divine sparrow to fly away. "What are your reasons for coming here?" Guan asked. Guan was very satisfied with Shenyuan Human Venerable's actions after his victory. At least he did not deceive the all-living beings, and with victory, there truly was a chance for immortality. Furthermore, the 3,000 great worlds did not perish and be recreated, which indicated Shenyuan Human Venerable exerted his influence on the celestial court. Shenyuan Human Venerable said, "Ancestor, your assistance was immeasurable, I had to come to express my gratitude. I am willing to offer you 10 immortal ascension slots. How about that?" 10 immortal ascension slots. Guan couldn't help but feel amazed. No wonder Tai Immortal Monarch was so committed to supporting the Son of Heaven. Relationships are truly important. How many years would it take for the 3,000 great worlds to birth an immortal god? Shenyuan Human Venerable effortlessly offered 10 slots, and Guan could sense that these 10 slots were not just ordinary celestial god positions but star monarch immortal positions. "You have already given me the heavenly Dao Emperor Jade, that's enough," Guan shook his head and smiled. Shenyuan Human Venerable replied sternly, "The heavenly Dao Emperor Jade was to request your assistance, but now I am talking about the reward after victory, which is what I should give." "Yes, Ancestor, if you can't decide now, you can accept them first and later give the opportunity to whichever disciple wishes to ascend to immortality," Sichuan Old Immortal chimed in. Shenyuan Human Venerable waved his sleeve, and 10 green jade long sticks appeared on the table, each engraved with the word Star Monarch. Guan no longer refused and asked, "Your Highness, how will you treat the 3,000 great worlds in the future?" Shenyuan Human Venerable was secretly astonished. How did the ancestor know he could rule the 3,000 great worlds? This was a reward he received from Xianxia not long ago, effectively enabling him to oversee 3,000 celestial gods, along with many immortals and gods who prioritize the 3,000 great worlds to serve him, greatly expanding his power. Of course, he was merely astonished and did not ponder too much. Considering the ancestor's cultivation level, deducing this was not impossible. Shenyuan Human Venerable began to describe his plans, believing the 3,000 great worlds held great potential, and intended to develop them well, making them a significant part of the heavenly Dao, heralding unprecedented fortune, and marching towards a grander era. The three chatted for a long time, mostly with Guan listening, while Shenyuan Human Venerable and Sichuan Old Immortal observed his expression, afraid he might be dissatisfied. Shenyuan Human Venerable indeed had faith in the 3,000 great worlds, but most importantly he wanted to enlist Guan's support. Having Guan in the 3,000 great worlds was of extraordinary significance. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 8:10. Son of Heaven Ji Yen, if it is truly so, then His Highness will surely become a revered immortal god among all beings and reshape the image of immortal gods in the hearts of all living beings. Guan looked at Shen Yuan Human Venerable, speaking with admiration, which prompted Shen Yuan Human Venerable to smile. Sichuan Old Immortal laughed and said, His Highness has always had the ideal of restoring the celestial court's virtues. After this victory, Kangshan's reward for His Highness far exceeds expectations, indicating that even the heavenly Tao supports His Highness' ideal. When talking about this matter, his tone was somewhat excited. Clearly the outcome of this Son of Heaven conflict differed from his expectations, further exciting him. Shen Yuan Human Venerable showed a smile, feeling joyous. To receive approval from such an extraordinary great power as Ancestor Master Wuxia proves that the path he steadfastly follows is correct. The three continued chatting for a while longer. Then Shen Yuan Human Venerable and Sichuan Old Immortal did not linger further. Although they had stayed for an hour, they felt greatly rewarded. At least they had the hope of winning Ancestor Master Wuxi's favor. By the way, what impression do you have of Son of Heaven Jie Yen? Guan suddenly asked, causing the two immortals who were about to leave to halt, looking at Guan with surprise. Sichuan Old Immortal was the first to ask, Master Ancestor, why are you inquiring about him? Search * the novel Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Mentioning Son of Heaven Jie Yen, Sichuan Old Immortal's expression became unnatural, and even Shen Yuan Human Venerable furrowed his brow. Guan maintained a smile and said softly, Oh, nothing in particular, just curious to understand. Sichuan Old Immortal glanced at Shen Yuan Human Venerable, then said, This Son of Heaven's celestial rank is quite high. His cultivation level is on par with some celestial Tao venerables. His Son of Heaven number can be ranked in the top 100. He once won the Son of Heaven battle, later lost, and since then has devoted himself to retreat, showing himself rarely. Yet over the long years, the immortal gods under his command continue cultivating new immortal gods. Overall, this Son of Heaven is not one to provoke lightly. His mention of not to provoke was a subtle warning to Guan not to antagonize Son of Heaven Jie Yen. Even though Guan had already displayed strength not fearing Tao Extreme Tao Yuo Immortal, he still hoped Guan would not provoke Son of Heaven Jie Yen. Shen Yuan Human Venerable did not speak, but it was clear he was very apprehensive of Son of Heaven Jie Yen. Guan said with a laugh, Do not worry, I have no feud with him, it's just that I happened to see him about to do some things. Alright, you may go now. Sichuan Old Immortal was puzzled upon hearing this, wishing to ask what matter it was but dared not get entangled in the cause and effect of Son of Heaven Jie Yen. Shen Yuan Human Venerable looked at Guan and asked, What he intends, does it relate to the 3,000 great worlds? Guan did not reply but merely looked at the teacup on the table. Shen Yuan Human Venerable and Sichuan Old Immortal instantly understood. Their expressions turned grim. They asked no more and left politely. The two immortals left Wuxia and directly moved to the world gate. Shen Yuan Human Venerable's face was livid, his eyes fiery, causing the celestial spirit god guarding the world gate to hurry to his feet. Your Highness, do not be reckless. Sichuan Old Immortal quickly advised, having guessed what Shen Yuan Human Venerable intended. Shen Yuan Human Venerable said without turning around, I understand, I am merely angry and will not give him any chance. Passing by the celestial spirit god he paused, turning to look at the celestial spirit god, his expression softened, and said, Serve Ancestor Master Wuxia well in the future, whatever happens if you need to find me, just call my name at the world gate, and I will hear it. Celestial spirit god was flattered, promptly agreeing. After that, Shen Yuan Human Venerable and Sichuan Old Immortal stepped into the world gate one after another. When the intense light of the world gate dissipated, only then did the celestial spirit god breathe a sigh of relief, his face breaking into a smile. The path becomes ever smoother. Being a celestial god, serving a great power outside the celestial court was once considered fundamentally rebellious behavior. But now, many high-ranking immortal gods support him in doing so. The celestial spirit god resumed his meditation, his gaze towards the distance. His mind drifted to Tian Hao. He wondered if that boy had ascended to immortality, and what immortal position he held. Meanwhile, Guan walked out of the mountain viewing pavilion, proceeding along the mountain path, leisurely strolling through the wilderness, contemplating the future. In a distant future, Son of Heaven Jie Yen will reincarnate to the mortal realm. achieve supreme status in the celestial spirit great world, and commence a war for dominion over the 3,000 great worlds. This destiny emerged after Shenyuan Human Venerable won, clearly indicating that Son of Heaven Jie Yan was targeting Shenyuan Human Venerable. Guan had previously warned Ji Xiaoyu not to trust immortal fate, precisely because she would encounter Son of Heaven Jie Yan in the future. This Son of Heaven Jie Yan's cultivation level is quite formidable, having reached perfect Taoist Great Luo immortal realm. Yet regrettably, such a level holds no secrets to Guan. It made Guan feel relieved that when he achieved Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal, he did not act recklessly. Had he indiscriminately killed and crazily accumulated lifespan, he surely would have been targeted by Xianxia Primordial Immortal and Mixed Element Profound Venerable Immortal. There are always those who take the lead role in this world, but staying here and watching the drama is more enjoyable. Guan murmured, with no one beside him to know what he meant. He prepared to assess Xianxia's cultivation achievements. Though he said it was to see Xianxia's own fortune, after millions of years, it was his first time teaching someone cultivation and could not let Xianxia be too poor. Celestial Court. Guangfa Immortal Palace. In the Grand Hall, hundreds of immortal gods sat cross-legged on their respective mats, Li Xuanmiao and Celestial Destruction God among them, the two seated next to each other. The venerable Guangfa Taiguang had not yet appeared, and the disciples of Guangfa Immortal Palace chatted about the Son of Heaven conflict. Didn't expect Shenyuan Human Venerable to turn the tide, truly surprised me. Indeed, Taisien Divine Yuan almost won, yet it could be overturned. Who knows what has happened within the 3,000 great world? It is said Shenyuan Human Venerable invited a supreme great power to intervene. I heard too that Taisien Divine Yuan invited a supreme immortal to act, but was not the rival, which might be why Shenyuan Human Venerable was conferred as Great Thousand World Immortal King. Shenyuan Human Venerable introduced hundreds of immortal gods at once, and Songtian permitted them, likely leading to more sons of heaven engaging in such conflicts in the future. Listening to the immortal gods' discussions around him, Li Xuanmiao felt that this situation was connected to his master. If there was a major variable in the 3,000 great worlds, it could only be his master. That Taisien Divine Yuan acted unscrupulously, worrying him about the celestial spirit great world, also fearing Guan would become an enemy of the celestial court to protect the celestial spirit great world. Celestial Destruction God spoke. The Son of Heaven conflict causing such a significant impact might be some sort of signal. Li Xuanmiao turned to look at him, curiously asking, "What kind of signal?" Celestial Destruction God did not answer, but said, "They say both Sons of Heaven displayed 9 heavens true dragon chi." What is 9 heavens true dragon chi? It is the Emperor of Heaven's divine skills, with abnormally domineering power to suppress the heavenly Tao. Celestial Destruction God's answer changed Li Xuanmiao's expression significantly. 2 Sons of Heaven with the Emperor of Heaven's true inheritance competing, and Songtian offering unprecedented merit rewards, indeed extraordinary. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 811. Dugu Demon Emperor. As Li Xuanmiao pondered Kangshan's will, a golden light appeared on the steps ahead. As the golden light dissipated, Venerable Guangfa Taiguang appeared on the lotus throne and sat down. His imposing figure appeared, and all the immortal gods in the hall stood up and bowed to him. Venerable Guangfa Taiguang nodded slightly, raised his hand and pressed down, indicating for all the immortal gods to sit. Once all the immortal gods were seated and looking at him, he spoke. Today's lecture will discuss the immortal gods, and we shall talk about what it means to be an immortal, what it means to be a god, and what the order of the heavenly Tao should be. I hope you will find your own path in comprehending the heavenly Tao, and no matter the outcome, do not regret. On hearing this, the immortal gods sat upright, knowing that this lecture was connected to the dispute for the title of Son of Heaven, a matter of great interest to them. Such a significant event rarely occurs in the celestial court over the long eras, as no one within the heavenly Tao can shake its foundation. The white-haired elder in the first row spoke first. This humble Taoist believes that immortal God should focus on destiny. Relying on it means relying on all beings of heaven and earth. Thus, immortal God should primarily protect all beings. His status was evidently high, as he was the first to speak, and the other immortal gods listened intently. After he finished speaking, an immortal god quickly rebutted. An immortal is an immortal. Mortal spirits cultivate to become immortals, enduring hardships, yet after becoming immortals, they still weigh mortal spirits heavily. What is the meaning of our immortal cultivation? Immortals should keep their distance from mortal spirits. This itself is a protection. In fact, even if we do nothing, mortal spirits will still worship us, so there's no need to curry favor for the sake of destiny. His argument won the approval of many immortal gods, most of whom were from the mortal world, having faced trials themselves. They knew the dangers of human hearts and inherently detested the machinations and disputes of mortal spirits. Suddenly, the immortal gods split into two factions and began debating. It was difficult for anyone to propose a third view without being dragged into the conflict between immortals and mortals. Li Xuanmiao remained silent, observing the attitudes of the immortal gods. Though he could understand some immortal gods' extreme comments, he always felt that immortal gods should protect mortal spirits. What's called an immortal god doesn't really rely on their own cultivation, but on the heavenly court's destiny to achieve immortality. Since the heavenly court requires the faith of all beings, immortal gods should inherently have the responsibility to protect mortal spirits. At least, that's what Li Xuanmiao believes. Venerable Guangfa Taiguang did not speak. He listened quietly. With him presiding over the court, the immortal gods had disputes but maintained order without devolving into chaos. CTH Novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Far away in the Taoist field of the beginningless, Guan was also listening to the lecture. After reaching the level of Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao, the celestial court seemed less mysterious to Guan, who often spied on it. Since Li Xuanmiao was listening to the Tao, Guan decided to eavesdrop too. Observing the celestial court over the years, Guan discovered an intriguing phenomenon. Supreme Immortal and Celestial Tao Venerable often have compassion for all beings. Whereas Celestial God, Star Monarch, Main Deity, Immortal Monarch are more disdainful of them. The former did not originate from the mortal realm, while the latter mostly fought their way out of the mortal realm, only to scorn its beings, a truly ironic fact. While Guan was enjoying what he heard, an Xian appeared in the courtyard. She came to the tree and looked at Guan lying in the rocking chair, asking, "Master, I have something to ask you." She glanced at Xianxia, hesitant. "Just speak," Guan replied casually. An Xian immediately asked, "Has the owner of those eyes left?" "Yes, captured by immortal gods to the celestial court." "What? Why?" "No reason. The celestial court doesn't tolerate those eyes." Guan's answer made an Xian frown and caught Shenzhen's attention. An Xian thought of Guan's warnings to her, feeling heavy-hearted, even though those immortal emperor's eyes were intimidating. Yet thinking that such a powerful entity was apprehended by the celestial court, she felt akin to empathy. She stopped asking, bowed to Guan, then left. Although Shenzhen was curious, she didn't ask more and continued her cultivation. Guan also didn't discuss the immortal emperor's eye with her. He had no intention of rescuing the owner of those eyes, as there was no cause and effect connection. That owner of the immortal emperor's eye was already imprisoned in the heavenly prison. Guan was familiar with that prison because Profound Abyss had spent a long time there, where only beings of great power were detained. Speaking of it, when Profound Abyss escaped from the prison, the fierce demon who caused chaos in the celestial court was still trapped inside. After countless ages, that demon's demon chi had dissipated, yet his body and soul persisted, enduring daily the torment of celestial fire. Xian Qi Primordial Immortal Cultivation Level. Guan discerned his origin, named Dugu Demon Emperor, with half-immortal blood in his veins. His father was a celestial Tao Venerable, hence the celestial court hadn't completely exterminated him. The prisoners in the heavenly prison mostly had intricate connections with the celestial court. Those without any connections were directly obliterated by the celestial court. The same applied to the owner of the immortal emperor's eye. His eyes weren't naturally born but transplanted by a celestial court great power, attempting to refine those eyes through his body. Nowadays, Guan found it amusing to observe the complex web of cause and effect within the celestial court, like following a drama or watching a movie. Not dull at all. To all beings, the celestial court appears ethereal. Even free immortals struggle to reach them. Yet every move they make can affect the destiny of all heavens and myriad realms. Guan got up, intending to take a look around the Nine-Spirit dynasty while listening to the lecture from Guangfa Immortal Palace. Shenzhen did not follow him. She was solely focused on asking the Tao and reaching the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm sooner. Now, the second-generation disciples of the beginningless had a minimum cultivation level of profound Yuan free immortal, but hadn't yet birthed any innate golden immortal. Time flows endlessly, as a day passes like a page in the annals of time. After Shenyuan human venerable triumphed, legends of immortal gods proliferated across the human world, and opportunities to ascend to immortality began to spread throughout it. Millions of years later, immortality became the highest goal for the cultivation of the multitudes. That year, on the Taitsong continent, within the ancient supreme sect, a young figure arrived on the heaven-repairing platform representing the highest legacy on that land. This youth wore black clothes, had handsome features, and appeared to be just 16 or 17 years old, carrying 3 treasure swords on his back as he walked with the steady stride of a dragon and tiger onto the heaven-repairing platform, full of spirit. The heaven-repairing platform was vast, yet only a few hundred were cultivating there, all meditating in different spots. The youth walked toward the heaven-splitting axe standing in the center of the platform. As he got closer, people began to turn their attention to him. The heaven-splitting axe was left behind by the mythic supporting Tao sword venerable, but countless ages have passed, and no one has been able to retrieve it, causing the expectation for this grand opportunity to fade. Thus, fewer and fewer with high cultivation are visiting the heaven-repairing platform. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 8:12. Celestial Mandate Person. The black-clad youth came before the heaven-splitting axe, looking at the ancient axe that had weathered countless millennia. He smiled with a radiant exuberance. "Hey, kid, where are you from? Do you also wish to challenge the ancient inheritance?" An elderly voice echoed. The black-clad youth turned his head upon hearing it and smiled brightly, saying, "My name is Su Ling. I just joined the Supreme Sect, and I believe I am qualified to receive the world's greatest opportunity." Hearing this, the surrounding old cultivators opened their eyes. Their expressions varied. Some were disdainful, others amused, some expectant, and others displeased. After responding to the old cultivator, Su Ling shifted his gaze to the heaven-splitting axe, his eyes full of passion. He reached out directly and grasped the axe handle. Heavy. This was Su Ling's first impression. At 16, he had already reached the core formation realm. Among the new disciples of the Supreme Sect, his talent was considered outstanding, especially since he was not born into a cultivation family. Although the heaven-splitting axe was very heavy, Su Ling felt a mysterious power in the dark assisting him in lifting the axe. The sense of weight was rapidly diminishing. Indeed, the heaven-splitting axe has been inherited for so many years without anyone succeeding. It clearly tests not cultivation level but Fu Yuan. Su Ling always believed he had deep Fu Yuan. When he was young, a calamity struck his entire village, yet he survived. He always felt grateful to the heavens, carrying a thankful heart from a young age. He had a fervent spirit, always ready to help those in need, earning a reputation for chivalry while young. It was this chivalry that drew the attention of the Supreme Sect's cultivators. After an entry test, he turned out to have extraordinary talent. He felt his good fortune and talent had special significance, with a grand mission awaiting him. Gaining the heaven-splitting axe's inheritance would assist him in completing this great mission. If there is celestial mandate in the mystery, let it help me lift it. Su Ling looked down at the heaven-splitting axe, shouting in his heart. He exerted his strength, moving his left foot sideways, his form full of power. He did not stop, his eyes resolute. The heaven-splitting axe started to shake. Although the movement was slight, it caused the hundreds of cultivators at the heaven-repairing platform to open their eyes, all turning their heads to look at him. The heaven-splitting axe trembled more violently, prompting the cultivators to stand up one after another. How is it possible? Could he truly be the legendary celestial mandate person? CTH Novelfire, any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He's only at the core formation realm. How can he budge the heaven-splitting axe? I've heard from my ancestor that even the legendary divine thought true immortal couldn't lift the heaven-splitting axe. Perhaps it's not cultivation level being tested after all. For someone so young to reach core formation is already first-rate talent. If his cultivation years are only a few, it is unfathomable. Maybe that's why the heaven-splitting axe chooses him. The cultivators began to excitedly discuss. If this youth truly obtains the inheritance of the heaven-splitting axe, the supreme sect would soar to new heights. To them, the supporting Dao sword venerable seemed too distant, but the heaven-splitting axe was real. Su Ling was not thinking about that much. He concentrated all his attention on the heaven-splitting axe, putting in all his effort, but he still couldn't lift it completely. Just a little bit more. Su Ling thought through gritted teeth. In merely a few dozen breaths, he had exhausted all his qi power. But he didn't want to give up. The ensuing time felt endlessly long and agonizing for Su Ling, but he refused to quit. Finally, the heaven-splitting axe began to rise, causing the hundreds of cultivators watching to hold their breath, not daring to exhale. Su Ling hadn't noticed this scene. He only wanted to persevere. As the heaven-splitting axe continued to ascend, strands of spiritual energy rose from the earth's crevices, increasingly forming surging winds, blowing Su Ling's black clothes. Boom! Su Ling only felt a white light erupt from beneath the heaven-splitting axe, rushing fiercely toward him, turning his vision completely white, his consciousness following into a daze. It felt as if he had a brief dream, quickly awakening. He found himself standing on a mountainous terrain, surrounded by rolling green hills, with a broad view that made him feel relaxed, clearing away his inner confusion. "Kid, catch!" A voice suddenly sounded in his ear, immediately followed by the sound of something slicing through the air. His pupils shrank abruptly, and he turned instinctively, raising a hand to catch. The heaven-splitting axe landed in his hand, pressing him backward with its immense power as his boots kicked up twin trails of dust. With this catch, Su Ling was completely awake, as if returning to the real world. Once he steadied himself, his right hand was still trembling, almost dropping the axe. He looked up, seeing a figure standing on the peak of a mountain in front. The figure leapt, like a bird taking flight, swiftly landing before him. What a handsome man! Since arriving at the Supreme Sect, Su Ling had seen many immortal masters, yet this was his first time seeing a man as handsome and full of immortal aura as Guan, 4,200 million years, finally waiting for someone fated. Guan looked at Su Ling, laughed, and said. Su Ling cautiously asked, "Who are you? Where am I?" Having just embarked on the path of immortal cultivation, he understood little, unable to distinguish reality from the illusion realm. Guan's mention of 4,200 million years directly stunned him, making him lose his usual judgment. Guan smiled and said, "Who I am doesn't matter. What matters is that you have passed the test of the heaven-splitting axe. Now I will teach you the secret skill hidden within it. Are you ready? Once you learn it you can return. This is not a dream. This is your opportunity." Su Ling calmed down. He gripped the heaven-splitting axe and lifted it slightly, saying, "I'm ready." Guan raised his right hand, forming an axe, then began teaching Su Ling the heaven-splitting divine axe, move by move. The heaven-splitting divine axe is divided into 9 forms: life-breaking, demon-breaking, ghost-breaking, mountain-breaking, broken sea, breaking technique, immortal-breaking, god-breaking, heaven-splitting. This axe technique was once the supreme inheritance of the Tai-Tsong continent, capable of sweeping the world. With high comprehension and Guan's Dao intent, Su Ling quickly memorized the 9 forms of the heaven-splitting divine axe. After roughly learning it, Su Ling's expression showed hesitance. He occasionally glanced at the heaven-splitting axe in his hand, then at Guan, wanting to say something but stopping. Guan asked with a smile, "Are you disappointed?" Su Ling nodded and said, "It seems the power is not much different from the swordsmanship my master taught me. Indeed, I have modified it. Do you wish to learn the new heaven-splitting divine axe?" Guan looked at Su Ling, his smile unchanged, warm like a spring breeze. Su Ling quickly replied, "Of course I want to. This is the Supreme Sect's ancient inheritance. If it's not more powerful than my master's swordsmanship, it would be embarrassing, not just for me but for the whole Supreme Sect." He had already thought it through. Guan must either be the artifact spirit of the heaven-splitting axe or the legendary supporting Dao sword venerable. Either way, there must be a deep connection with the Supreme Sect. Guan nodded with a smile, then raised a hand pointing towards Su Ling. Su Ling's eyes widened, his whole body frozen in place, as images of a figure wielding an axe appeared in his eyes. Guan watched him, murmuring to himself, choosing him might also be a good choice. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 8:13. Where is the sword venerable? Su Ling was shrouded by Guan's Dao intent, and the new memory of the heaven-splitting divine axe surged into his mind. He dreamed again, and this dream lasted a long time. In the dream, he continuously cultivated the heaven-splitting divine axe, a process long and tedious, yet he had no time to think of other matters. When he finally finished this long cultivation, and his consciousness cleared, he opened his eyes, no longer seeing that illusion realm nor Guan. He returned to the heaven-repairing platform, surrounded by great cultivators of the supreme sect. Even his master had arrived. Seeing Su Ling open his eyes, the great cultivators around him began to ask questions. Disciple, how are you? Did you receive the legacy? What did you comprehend just now? What did you see? Did you meet the supporting Dao sword venerable? Speak quickly, you're killing me with suspense. The great cultivators babbled questions, making Su Ling somewhat dazed, which only made them more anxious. Su Ling came back to his senses, took a deep breath, and said, I received a legacy named the Heaven-Splitting Divine Axe, taught by a man in white clothes. He looked very young, very handsome. He merely pointed at me, and I learned the Heaven-Splitting Divine Axe. With these words, the heaven-repairing platform exploded in commotion. An elderly elder exclaimed excitedly, Young and handsome, isn't that the legendary supporting Dao sword venerable? It is said, he is immortal and amiable. Other great cultivators joined in agreement, showing more excitement than Su Ling himself. Watching the surrounding people's ecstatic expressions, Su Ling felt confused. Even his usually stern master gazed at him intensely. Sar the Novelier. NET website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. At this moment, he finally realized how exalted the status of the supporting Dao sword venerable was. He recalled Guan's appearance, his heart filled with boundless curiosity. Was that person really the supporting Dao sword venerable? What level of cultivation did he possess? Where could he be now? In the Taoist field of the beginningless, Guan was in a good mood while fishing, having fulfilled his wish by passing on the legacy of the heaven-splitting axe. There was no test or Fuyuan. Choosing Su Ling was inevitable because he could see Su Ling's entire future, confirming that Su Ling would bring prosperity to the supreme sect and to the world. Not only that, Su Ling upheld righteousness, leading other cultivators to act justly. Currently, Guan was contemplating another matter. It involved reincarnating his previously deceased disciple into Su Ling's descendant, hoping they would follow the righteous path under Su Ling's guidance. This was also to fulfill another disciple's obsession. Guan gazed at the lake surface, recalling over 40 million years ago when he led disciples like Tang Yu, Su Han, Zhen Qin, Yan Mei, Yang Min, Yi Yan, and others in cultivation. Times have changed. Most of those disciples have since embarked on reincarnation. Guan didn't wish to pursue every disciple. He felt regret towards Su Han. Su Han indeed strayed, but his life was too bitter, and at that time, Guan wasn't able to fully guide him. Currently, even with blood vendettas, the Wuxia disciples wouldn't be pursued by an imperial dynasty or need to seek a mortal fate alone. Of course, most importantly, Zhen Qin still thought of him. Though Zhen Qin didn't enter the beginningless cultivation, with Guan's subtle help, she had grown and stood out, becoming the founding ancestor of a sect with impressive status. Even though she has achieved fame and success, her personality turned reclusive. Giving Su Han a chance also helped her. For the current Guan, such matters aren't troublesome but interesting while aiding a beloved disciple. This is the mindset shift after becoming powerful. Previously cautious, now nothing in the celestial spirit great world affects him. Not just the celestial spirit great world. He can handle anything in the 3,000 great worlds, whether to act or not is solely up to him. Guan is increasingly less restrained, enjoying this process. In the unseen, the ineffable Dao heart realm seemed to guide him. He can now confirm. To become a saint requires transcending that Dao heart realm. Even facing the celestial emperor, he felt confident, thus he's in no hurry, enjoying life while understanding the so-called saint realm. Slowly comprehending, if it doesn't work, then risking life. Things Guan couldn't achieve in cultivation over the years were made possible by risking life, which doesn't negate his efforts as those experiences and insights were objectively existent. As Guan reminisced on the past, a figure approached. It was Xianxia. Over the years, Xianxia had become steadier and carried an extraordinary aura. He came behind Guan and bowed respectfully, saying, "Ancestor, I have mastered the supreme Tao mixed yuan plate. Would you care to examine?" Guan responded casually, "I don't need to look with my eyes to know your Tao practice. You indeed mastered it, though far from perfection." Xianxia remarked, "The supreme Tao mixed yuan plate is indeed profound, with endless creation. From now on I will prioritize it. Apart from my main cultivation technique, I want cultivate others." Guan said nothing more. Xianxia's eyes shifted, saying, "Ancestor, I wish to venture out again because I received your true teachings. Ancestor An's expectations are higher, viewing me differently from other disciples. The secret skill I now possess might harm the world. Whether I can venture out requires your approval." Guan remained silent, leaving Xianxia anxious. Not daring to say more, he stood quietly behind Guan, waiting patiently. Even if rejected, he accepted it. After a long while, Guan spoke leisurely. "This world isn't as simple as you think. The higher your cultivation level, the greater the calamities you face." Xianxia hurriedly said, "I know, but compared to my personal achievements, I care more about how much I can accomplish." "If that's the case, then go." "Thank you, Ancestor. I promise not to shame the beginningless nor cause trouble for it or you," Xianxia said excitedly, to which Guan only smiled, without replying. Each period, Wuxia disciples venture out, but only Xianxia warranted Guan's personal attention. Xianxia and Su Ling both are rare good people in Guan's eyes. Xianxia is straightforward and just, while Su Ling is kind-hearted, yet gentle and carefree. Though both walk the righteous Tao, their paths differ. Guan looked forward to which roads their lives would take. Afterward, Xianxia took his leave. Guan continued fishing, only standing up to collect his rod when dusk fell. The setting sun elongated his shadow. While enjoying leisure, his other disciple faced a fated ordeal. The disciple was Tian Hao, the reincarnation of An Hao. Tian Hao, cultivating in the misty immortal court, had reached a cultivation level to stand alone. He began his adventures in the great Tao domain, traveling within the heavenly Tao beyond the 3,000 great worlds. On this day, he encountered a grand scheme targeting him and the celestial court. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 8:14. Tian Hao's will. The thunderclouds tumbled, and crimson lightning intertwined and flickered. On the earth stood several towering peaks, devoid of vitality and greenery. A light star walked upon the land. Upon closer inspection, it was a divine warrior clad in silver armor, wielding a divine spear, with 9 golden pearls floating behind his head. Flames swirled around the pearls, resembling true dragons, constantly surging, emitting dazzling light, like a war god advancing, dispelling darkness with each step. It was Tian Hao. Now, his cultivation level had reached the innate golden immortal realm. Even though he had not yet joined the immortal class, he could nurture celestial Tao destiny because he was an innate immortal god, born an immortal god. His face was cold, his eyes sharp, filled with an oppressive aura, as if he could see through all the disguises of evil in the world. Following his gaze, a million miles ahead, a stone staircase lay across a giant mountain, like a long stairway to heaven. Looking upward, at the top of the staircase, halfway up the mountain, stood a mysterious figure in a black robe. This mysterious person wore a bamboo hat, and black mist surged on his face, making it impossible to see his true appearance. For a long time, Tian Hao stopped at the foot of the giant mountain, looked up, and asked the black-robed person above, "I'm here. Now, you should tell me who you are and on what grounds you claim to have the confidence to overthrow the celestial court?" Tian Hao not only recovered An Hao's memories but was also gradually restoring Emperor Zhuangqing's memories. His divinity was growing stronger. The black-robed person gazed down at him and said, I am the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable, from the Dark Heavenly Court. I shall be the vanguard in attacking the Celestial Court. Once I commence the war, the Dark Heavenly Court will invade en masse. Are you satisfied with this answer? Tianhao was not surprised. Instead, he sneered dismissively and asked, What? You think I might betray the Heavenly Tao for revenge against the Celestial Court, for revenge against my father? The Dark Heavenly Court originally came from the Heavenly Tao. We were only defeated and expelled. When we return, we will still serve the Heavenly Tao. Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's tone was utterly calm, devoid of any emotion. Tianhao remained unfazed and said, You cannot win. As long as he exists, nothing in the Celestial Court can be shaken. He is indeed strong, even invincible. With the strength of the Dark Heavenly Court alone, it would indeed be impossible to overthrow the Celestial Court. But the Dark Heavenly Court is never lacking in patience or determination. If you join us, we will grant you the legacy of the Celestial Emperor, a legacy your father once received. Only by acquiring this legacy will you have hope of rivaling him. Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's words finally made Tianhao's expression change. Tianhao fell into silence, and Emperor Bone Profound Venerable did not pursue him further, waiting quietly. After a while, Tianhao looked up at Emperor Bone Profound Venerable and said, I can trust you, but before that, I want to fight you, to see how powerful the legendary strength surpassing the Tao Extreme Daluo Immortal truly is. Emperor Bone Profound Venerable gazed down at him, saying nothing, but suddenly released a terrifying aura. Boom! In an instant billions of towering mountains crumbled into ashes. Tianhao's robe wildly billowed, the silver armor quirked, producing a clanging sound, and his eyes turned icy, filled with a fighting spirit. He knew he couldn't possibly be a match for his opponent, yet he still wanted to try. He wanted to know how terrifying the Dark Heavenly Court truly was, so he could understand the kind of foes his father faced. Tianhao leaped towards Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. Just then, Tianhao's pupils suddenly dilated, and in his vision, the heavens and the earth trembled as if an immense invisible heart was pounding, and behind Emperor Bone Profound Venerable appeared a terrifying phantom, stretching towards him with bared fangs and claws. What is that? Just as the question formed in Tianhao's mind, he fell into a state of chaos. When Guan returned to the room, Tianhao had already been annihilated by Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. He did not immediately take action. After restoring Emperor Zhuangqing's memories, Tianhao was clearly fixated, unwilling to stop before hitting the south wall. Better to let him venture into the Dark Heavenly Court, whether it brings fortune or calamity. That decision lies with him and the Celestial Emperor. While observing Tianhao, Guan had a sense that perhaps the Celestial Emperor was already aware of his existence. But for some unknown reason, the Celestial Emperor did not pursue him and remained in his celestial palace, lost in reincarnation. The real Celestial Emperor was more incomprehensible than the reincarnation body Taihao. Sar the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Whatever the case, Guan no longer feared the Celestial Emperor. Even if discovered by the Celestial Emperor, he wouldn't worry. What he desires now is to surpass the Celestial Emperor and reach the legendary Saint Realm. It is worth noting that Gu An's avatar and Hongya Zi were still in the profound abyss divine pool. They learned more and more of the ancient heavenly court and the secrets of saints and encountered numerous opportunities, steadily growing stronger. The profound abyss divine pool contained many crises that could have killed Hongya Zi, but Guan discreetly erased them. Therefore, to Hongya Zi, the only problem was his inability to escape. Guan sat down at the desk inside the room, picked up a book from the table, and began to savor it. This was written by the contemporary book sage, Profound Celestial Intent, who infused Tao intent into it, making every word rich in imagery, so that when one's divine sense delved into it, it felt like watching a movie. With such creations, Profound Celestial Intent had become deified, holding a lofty position in the celestial spirit great world. Of course, his status was largely due to his extraordinary friendship with ancestor Master Wuxia. The moon sets, the sun rises. Guan pushed open the door and stepped into the courtyard. Already, it was a million years later. Basking in the bright sun, he stretched lazily. What's new in the world recently? Guan saw Xianxia sitting beside Xinjian and inquired. Xianxia turned to him and said, "There are quite a few things, but one matter concerns us. A disciple named Xianxia of the 8th generation killed the child of an alliance hierarch of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, and now it's causing an uproar. The eldest senior brother has already sent someone to handle it." "And what else?" Guan wasn't concerned about Xianxia's affair, because he had witnessed the incident where the alliance hierarch's child used the blood of cultivators of a city as a sacrificial offering for a magical treasure, committing an atrocity worthy of death. However, this person had extraordinary background connections, involving too many people. Xianxia tilted her head, thought for a moment, and said, "There's another thing you might be interested in. An ascender has come to this part of the human world, allegedly a son of heaven reincarnated, destined to undergo 120,000 cycles of reincarnation trials before returning to the celestial court. In each life, he must become the master of the human world, which means he is to become the master of the great world of celestial spirit." Guan became intrigued and said, "Go on." Xianxia immediately stood up, eager to share. "It is said that this son of heaven reincarnate has already entered Chen Chuan's sword sect, and his comprehension of the sword Dao has already connected to the river of sword Dao. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 8:15 Celestial Mandate. Farewell Son of Heaven Jie has finally arrived. /Novel_fire. /At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan listened to Xianxia recount the deeds of that ascender, while his eyes were also probing the future of Son of Heaven Jie. After Son of Heaven Jie ascended, he displayed a vast celestial Dao destiny, making many instantly believe he was the reincarnation of the Son of Heaven. For the sake of immortal fate, many supported him, allowing him to quickly gather a major force. To become the master of the great world, he would inevitably oppose the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance does not have an absolute ruler. There are many alliance hierarchs, and any major event must be discussed. They would never let Son of Heaven Jie tread upon them. Various sects were watching to see how the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance would handle Son of Heaven Jie. Xianxia again mentioned the great battle between Son of Heaven Jie and a prodigy from the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. That battle attracted worldwide attention. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance had rankings for disciples of every great realm, and Son of Heaven Jie challenged the top prodigy of the same realm from the Heavenly Spirit. With an absolutely powerful stance, he won, making people even more convinced he's the reincarnation of the Son of Heaven. Since ancient times, there have always been ascenders, but no matter how strong those from the lower realm are, their Taoist techniques always fall short compared to cultivators of the celestial spirit great world. Ascenders can stir up waves, but can never surpass the prodigies of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance possesses the best resources of the celestial spirit great world, especially those who make a name as a prodigy, whose resources are far beyond those an ascender can compare to. Ancestor, can't you foresee the future? Do you think that Son of Heaven can shake the rule of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance? Xianxia asked excitedly. She bore no animosity toward the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. She was simply eagerly anticipating a drastic change in the world structure. Before the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, there were 9 major sects. Earlier there was the Tao Court, and even earlier was the Holy Court. The Master of Heaven and Earth has always been replaced. Guan smiled and said, "Anything is possible." These words only piqued Xianxia's curiosity further, and she couldn't stop chatting away, with Xinzhan occasionally chiming in. Guan chatted with them for an hour before leaving. Today, he had an important affair. He was to meet an old friend from the immortal Cultivation realm, who was holding a feast for his 1,000,000-year birthday. 1,000,000 years in today's world is nothing significant, but in a single continent, it would absolutely count as being akin to an ancestor's existence. Guan wished to go simply to see this old friend off for the last time. Everyone has their ultimate limit of lifespan, commonly known as celestial mandate. Even though this old friend has reached a high realm and seems robust, in reality, he's nearing his life's limit. Guan had no intention of altering his fate. After all, they were merely drinking buddies with shallow ties. He was just going for the spectacle. After Guan left, Xianxia sat back beside Xinzhan, and the two began discussing writing again. The book sage inspired writers all over the world, imbuing Tao intent into the text to create more meaningful writings. Under the dark celestial vault, the earth stretched infinitely. Gu-en and Hongya-zi passed through a stone gate, standing alone on the earth, devoid of any other constructions within a 1,000-mile radius. Hongya-zi suddenly stopped, turned to look at the stone gate behind him, and with a dazed expression, he couldn't help but ask, "Have we already escaped from the predicament?" The moment they stepped through the stone gate, he felt that something invisible had lifted, an eerie, abrupt sensation. As a heaven-opening Daluo immortal, instinct told him that he had already escaped the endless predicament from before. Gu-en halted, turned to face Hongya-zi, and said, "Fellow Taoist, this journey was quite exhilarating, but it took a bit too long. We should part ways." Hongya-zi turned to look at Gu-en, his brows furrowing, asking, "Why part ways? Why choose this place?" After traversing many lands together for so many years, he never expected they'd part ways here. Moreover, over the years, he vaguely sensed that Gu-en was not simple. The two were of the same realm, yet many times he found himself unable to see through Gu-en, never having seen Gu-en in a wretched state. But he didn't understand. They had not yet left the profound abyss divine pool, only escaped a mysterious plight that had trapped them for many years, and now Gu-en was to part ways with him? Gu-en looked at Hongya-zi, a smile on his face, and said, "Isn't there no such thing as a banquet that never ends?" Upon hearing this, Hongya-zi couldn't help but sigh. Gu-en jumped, transformed into a rainbow light, and swiftly disappeared. Hongya-zi watched Gu-en's departing figure for a long time. When he finally came back to himself and turned again toward the stone gate, the oppressive aura attacked him, causing him to shiver. He suddenly realized something. Without Gu-en's company, this journey would likely end in disaster. Gu-en's avatar jumped out of the profound abyss divine pool and returned to his true self. He only recalled the avatar because he grew tired of it, not wanting to continue the antics with Hongya-zi. Besides, after he left, Hongya-zi would return to the Misty Immortal Court to cultivate. In the future, the Misty Immortal Court would become an important force for Tianhao. After obtaining the Celestial Emperor's inheritance from Emperor Bone Profound Venerable, Tianhao returned to the Misty Immortal Court with greater ambition, and the Misty Immortal Court would become his first stepping stone to help him soar. In the myriad heavens of the Tao, each had their own stories unfolding, and an endless web of cause and effect intertwined in ways beyond the comprehension of living beings, creating a giant net encompassing every world. In the blink of an eye, 20 million years passed. This day, in the mountain viewing pavilion, Gu-en was playing chess with Nzizai. The game had just begun. "Ancestor, that Su Ling is truly remarkable, having become the alliance hierarch of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, and the Supreme Sect has also risen completely. Do you feel gratified?" Nzizai asked with a smile. The story of Gu-en and the Supreme Sect he had long heard of, and Su Ling's legendary life couldn't be separated from the supporting Tao Sword Venerable's heaven-splitting axe inheritance. With Su Ling's heaven-splitting divine axe sweeping across the land, he became one of the most dazzling figures under the heavens. Of course, Nzizai knew that the supporting Tao Sword Venerable was indeed Gu-en, hence he had long regarded Su Ling as an ally, purposefully bringing up Su Ling's recent achievements. Gu-en laughed and said, "At my realm, no matter what you become, no matter how high you rise, it won't affect my mood." Nzizai, hearing the words you, thought indeed, Su Ling was also a Wuxia disciple. As Nzizai placed a piece, he followed with, "In today's world, there are indeed many notable figures. Unfortunately, whether it's Su Ling or Xianxia, or those ancient prodigies of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, none can compare to Son of Heaven Jie. This child is said to be on the cusp of reaching the innate golden immortal realm soon. It's unimaginable. Innate golden immortal is a realm countless great cultivators dream of, including all of them as Wuxia disciples. Yet, how difficult it is to become an innate golden immortal. So far, openly, only one person in the celestial spirit great world has achieved innate golden immortal status." Gu-en placed his piece. The game had just started, with no signs of killing intent, and they played casually. Nzizai continued to ask, "Son of Heaven Jie plans to visit Wuxia. Ancestor, he's definitely coming for you. Will you meet him? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 8:16. The future, I will not see him. Guan replied while placing a piece on the board. The cultivation level of Son of Heaven Ji Yen in this life was not enough to pique his interest. If his original cultivation level were restored, he might consider meeting him. It's not that Guan uses cultivation level as a standard for meetings, but rather that after the reincarnation of Son of Heaven Ji Yen, his memories have not fully returned. Only when his cultivation is restored as before can he become his true self. Meeting the real Son of Heaven Ji Yen might not be bad. Perhaps he could trace back to uncover more about the cause and effect concerning the Celestial Emperor. But the current Son of Heaven Ji Yen has no value in Guan's eyes. And Zizai, upon hearing this, asked no further questions. Since Guan did not wish to see him, he had his own strategy to handle the situation. He then turned the conversation to Xianxia. Xianxia has now become a flagship figure of Wuxia, traveling the world, relieving suffering, and asking for nothing in return. His chivalry and reputation spread far and wide. Surely, his fame as great as Son of Heaven Ji Yen and Su Ling's is owed to his own divine skills. The Supreme Tao Mixed Yuan Plate was personally passed down by the ancestor Master Wuxia, renowned across the world, sweeping through the same realm. This has led many Wuxia disciples to inquire about this divine skill within the beginningless, wanting to cultivate it, but alas, few within the beginningless know it. To cultivate it, one must first obtain the master's verbal consent. As they chatted, Zizai found himself unable to continue because he felt pressure in the game. Though he knew he couldn't surpass his ancestor in skill, he still harbored expectations each time, hoping to amaze the ancestor. Thus, the mountain viewing pavilion fell into silence. A stick of incense later, Zizai left, lost in thought. Guan stood up and turned to look at the great waterfall beside him. Within his pupils reflected a silhouette. Sarch * The Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. It was a young boy. Indeed, Su Han's reincarnation, just 10 years old, the grandson of Su Ling. Guan originally intended for Su Han to be Su Ling's son, but Su Ling didn't marry until he grew strong, and after marriage, he wandered the world. He didn't wish for Su Han to grow up without a father's companionship, so he waited. Now Su Ling has become the alliance hierarch of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, with the Su family rooted there, allowing Su Han to grow up steadily. Back then, after Su Han transferred his cultivation using the destiny-defying divine skill to Zhenqin, his body was preserved by Guan. Once Guan's cultivation grew powerful, finding his soul wasn't difficult. Even if it had scattered, Guan could cross over to retrieve it. Unless all his causes and effects were erased, to achieve that, one must first cultivate the Daluo Dao fruit. Guan watched as Su Han of this life was practicing swordsmanship, reminiscent of the years when Su Han cultivated the heaven-hating divine sword passed down from his father. He silently guided the cause and effect, leading Zhenqin, who happened to be wandering within the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, towards the Su mansion, creating a chance for them to meet. In this lifetime, Zhenqin would become a guide on Su Han's cultivation path. She would see in Su Han a resemblance to her senior brother and gradually release her obsessions by mentoring Su Han. The reason for not directly telling her the truth is that Guan predicted that if he did so, Zhenqin would spare no effort in indulging and cultivating Su Han, causing him to stray again. What Zhenqin needed to do was forgive herself and let go of the past. Su Han needed to start a whole new life. They could intersect but not overlap. Once Zhenqin truly moved on, Guan would reveal Su Han's true identity, or let Su Han regain memories of his past life. Letting things run their course would be the best outcome for both. Guan turned his gaze towards the future. A very distant future. With more and more Wuxia disciples becoming stronger, it would eventually be difficult to maintain the current low profile. Whether turning towards good or evil, they could no longer stay low-key. He even foresaw many calamities for the Wuxia, including internal chaos and external threats. It was impossible for every Wuxia disciple to be a good person. Inevitably, one will become an evil person, and internal unity will eventually falter. Flourishing to the extreme must decline. This is an eternal truth. Just like the heavens and earth, overly prosperous, will also usher in the cataclysm of all beings fighting. One day, Wuxia disciples will venture out independently, and Guan will only keep a few to accompany him. That is a future far distant, and even though Guan has glimpsed it, he remains neither sad nor indignant. He is at peace because he can already see through the destiny of all things. He's just considering that everything in the world seems ever-changing, yet in reality, there is a shared order that persists. Becoming a saint, does it mean breaking free from this order? No, it should be more powerful than breaking free. To set the order, to create the rules. Guan had an insight, but this level of insight was far from being a saint. He suddenly thought of the lifespan inheriting function he activated, which could allow him to lecture at an already obliterated enlightenment seeker dojo. Since ancient times, many cultivators must have sought the saint realm. Otherwise, the legend of becoming a saint would not have been left behind. However, accessing such dojos is difficult. He cannot control it. He can only decide how much lifespan to invest. When his lifespan increases, he might invest 1,000,000,000,000 years to test the waters. Guan retracted his gaze and walked out of the pavilion. Above the vast magnificent sea of clouds, two figures strode on golden light, racing forward. They were Zhang Buku and Su Yu. Zhang Buku looked around curiously and asked, "Is this the legendary celestial extreme 9 heavens? The spiritual energy is indeed abundant, but why does it seem lifeless?" Su Yu flew alongside him smiling. "Hidden beneath the sea of clouds are many divine beasts. Should they leap out, they would certainly startle you." Zhang Buku looked at him and asked, "How are you so familiar with the celestial extreme 9 heavens? What connection do you have with this place?" "My master cultivates in this realm," Su Yu replied, and a slight change crossed his gaze. Zhang Buku remained silent. When Xianxia human venerable was about to fall, Su Yu had led him away from the celestial calming god's celestial army, taking them to meet an immortal monarch, thus escaping the causes and effects of the contest for the title of Son of Heaven, which greatly astounded him. Although Xianxia human venerable ultimately turned the tide, he too, through that immortal monarch, found a more promising path to ascend to immortality. After cultivating in the immortal monarch's palace for a long time, Su Yu brought Zhang Buku to the celestial extreme 9 heavens. "You've always been curious about my background. Now I can tell you." Su Yu looked ahead, speaking calmly, causing Zhang Buku to gaze towards him. "I was also once a son of heaven, yet through reincarnation, I shed my status as son of heaven and became a mortal spirit." Su Yu's words shocked Zhang Buku, but he quickly accepted it. Su Yu knew so much about the celestial court, there must be a connection, and his status was higher than a celestial god. As the son of heaven, it made sense. Unlike the great immortal divine Yuan and Xianxia human venerable, I never received my father's favor. Perhaps he never even remembered me. Even when I violated the celestial rules, he did not personally question me. Although it seemed I had left the celestial court and gained freedom, in truth, the celestial court simply didn't care about me. Su Yu spoke with a self-mocking tone, his eyes full of desolation. Zhang Buku remained silent. He could not empathize with such feelings because his father loved him dearly. Albeit he left him early on, yet in his heart, paternal love was the greatest. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 817. Great Calamity. Since you have already shed the identity of the Son of Heaven, why are you coming back now? Zhang Buku remained silent for a moment before speaking, looking at Su Yu. The two had fought side by side for tens of millions of years and were like brothers, so he would not change their relationship because of Su Yu's different identity. In fact, over the years, he often speculated about Su Yu's identity and was already mentally prepared. Su Yu, in an annoying tone, said, "Isn't it because I met you? I originally wanted to lead a carefree life, but since knowing you, it's been nothing but trouble." Zhang Buku smiled upon hearing this and said, "Then you can leave now, I won't stop you. Forget it, with your disposition, you'd have died 8,000,000 times without me. Have I never saved you? Just to mention one thing, before joining the Celestial Army, when you tried to seize the heaven and earth ultimate treasure, you were ready to perish with your opponent, and it was only with my secret technique that we broke through the siege. This is a separate matter." The two began to bicker, with Su Yu's mood lifting, returning to his usual carefree state. The two bickered all the way as they moved forward. Ahead, a radiant aurora appeared, and at the end of the aurora was a colossal palace. On the palace eaves crouched a majestic great blue bird, its majestic beauty causing space to seem distorted with its fluttering feathers. Zhang Buku's gaze fell on the plaque of that palace. CTH Novelfire, NE*T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. 9 Heaven's Immortal Palace. Upon hearing Zhang Buku's whisper, Suyu explained, residing in the 9 Heaven's Immortal Palace is a heaven-opening Daluo immortal known as the 9 Heaven's Immortal Emperor. She is considered my junior sister, and we have a good relationship. Let's go to her palace to cultivate for some time to enhance your physical body. 9 Heaven's Immortal Emperor. Zhang Buku recalled hearing within the Celestial Army that anyone who could claim the title of Immortal Emperor in the Celestial Court held a high status, at least not comparable to a celestial god. He began to look forward to the upcoming years of cultivation. After experiencing the battle for the title of Son of Heaven, Zhang Buku's ambitions grew. He wanted to become an immortal god more powerful than the Son of Heaven. He wanted to become a player rather than a pawn. The two hastened their pace, flying towards the 9 Heaven's Immortal Palace. The passage of time was swift. 100 years passed in the blink of an eye. For mortals, 100 years is long, but for cultivators after nirvana, a century is not much different from a month. On this day, Guan was instructing Nzazai on the cultivation of the 4th strike of the myriad supreme palm. The two were standing on a cliff, amidst beautiful scenery, yet every strike Nzazai delivered could not damage the surroundings. Because they were within a barrier created by Guan, allowing Nzazai to freely practice the myriad supreme palm. Despite Nzazai being busy managing Wuxia, his cultivation had not lagged. He was now at the cultivation level of a heaven-encompassing free immortal, and with the myriad supreme palm, even some second-generation disciples were no match for him. Guan, seeing Nzazai gradually enter the perfect state, turned his head to look at the horizon. It has begun. Guan thought silently, referring to a war unseen by mortal spirits. The dark heavenly court was about to attack the celestial court, with Emperor Bone Profound Venerable as the vanguard. They had already opened a space-time passage, and the heaven-suppressing endless tower would appear before the celestial gate. This war would last many years, with Emperor Bone Profound Venerable merely testing the current strength of the celestial court. Unfortunately, by the end of the battle, he could not force out the celestial emperor, but it did make a heavenly Tao Venerable, who had been in seclusion for countless years, renowned in the celestial court. Even within the celestial court, the title of heavenly Tao Venerable was rarely mentioned, partly due to taboo, and partly due to the distance from most immortal gods. For Guan, this was a mere amusement, something to watch at leisure. And Nzazai continuously practiced, each palm strike straight forward, the technique relying on harnessing energy. While cultivating, he asked, Ancestor, many disciples want to ascend to immortality lately. Didn't you once help Uncle Yang Jian to ascend? Do you still have any immortal fate on hand? Do you support the disciples in ascending? Guan never had many requirements for his disciples. Outside of cultivation, disciples would contemplate their future, even if they left Wuxia. Guan wouldn't stop them. Not everyone would stay at Wuxia forever. They might leave through the 10,000 Realms Gate or go to the human world to establish their own sections. You are responsible for observing and selecting a disciple who wants to ascend to immortality and is eligible. Guan casually replied, yet his words excited Nzazai. Indeed, Shenyuan Human Venerable had granted Ancestor a quota for ascension. He didn't want to ascend, but the fact that Wuxia had an opportunity for ascension was a glory. In his early years, he had also ventured out, witnessed Ancestor in action, and long decided to follow Ancestor in cultivation to the end. Moreover, he was not deprived of freedom. If bored, he could visit the human world for leisure. He had found Ancestor's approach to life rewarding and genuinely enjoyable. To have a powerful cultivation without deliberately flaunting it, to sit back and watch the tides rise and fall, was another form of enjoyment. Listening to Nzazai's thoughts, Guan's lips slightly curled upward. Nzazai, like an Xian, had thoroughly become a true cultivator like him, which was great. Though Wuxia had many disciples, those who genuinely walked alongside Guan were few. The two chatted sporadically, Nzazai thoroughly enjoying his current state, as Guan was whom he admired most. Whether cultivating or conversing with Ancestor, he liked both, and having them together was a rare occasion in thousands of years. Nzazai brought up the future of Wuxia, with disciples increasing yearly. Despite limiting the number of students, with each generation passing training to the next, It would inevitably become a colossal entity, and he feared managing Wuxia poorly in the future. "Have you heard the story between me and the Supreme Sect?" Guan suddenly asked, and Zizai immediately grasped the deeper meaning. He could abandon the Supreme Sect or Wuxia. And Zizai immediately grew anxious and quickly said, "Ancestor, wherever you go, you must take me and my master. We have no desires or ambitions, only wishing to seek the Tao with you. Don't worry, I will take you. I merely want to reduce your pressure. You've done excellently, even surpassing your master back then." Guan glanced at him, smiling, relieving Zizai's burden. Looking at his expression, Guan suddenly thought of Hao. And Zizai was quite like Hao, who did not wish to soar away. He glimpsed into Zizai's future, very long, so much so that there was no end in sight. This meant Zizai's heart wouldn't change, and he would truly follow Guan forever. As long as he remained by Guan's side, Guan could naturally ensure he would always live on, and his Tao practice wouldn't meet limits. Guan looked at Zizai with an increasingly gentle gaze. This kid was worthy of his favor. All right, don't overthink. Focus on practicing the myriad supreme palm. If one day a Wuxia disciple misbehaves, you'll need to clean up the mess. Don't be surpassed by the younger generation. Guan urged. And Zizai chuckled, saying, "How could the younger generation possibly surpass me? Don't be so sure. Someday a great calamity will arise in Wuxia." Guan's words wiped the smile off Zizai's face, furrowing his brows as numerous faces flashed through his mind. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 8:18. Eternal Divine Power Great Calamity. Ever since the ancestor spoke to Zizai, and Zizai began scrutinizing the disciples with a discerning look. He realized that his past attention on the Wuxia disciples was too little. Although the ancestor said that it was impossible for all disciples of Wuxia to be good, he refused to believe in evil. He conscientiously screened them, not willing to believe that there truly were fish slipping through the net into Wuxia. If any disciple strayed onto the wrong path, he could rectify it in time. Constantly following the ancestor in cultivation was his goal, but if he could keep the ancestor at Wuxia, that would be better for him, for he held deep feelings for the Taoist field of the beginningless. After all, Wuxi's current foundation was due to the efforts he exerted with much heart and energy. In the ensuing days, more and more disciples noticed Zizai becoming stricter, even setting many hurdles for accepting disciples, causing them to privately speculate on what had affected him. The news also reached the ears of the second-generation disciples. Towards them, Zizai did not mention the words of the ancestor, but he did not conceal the matter from the elders. Upon hearing that a great calamity would appear in Wuxia later, the second-generation disciples became solemn because they knew Guan would not speak carelessly. Guan's eyes could see the future, prompting them to heighten their attention towards their lineage's pupils. No one hoped for such a calamity to arise from within their own ranks. In the absence of knowledge across all heavens and myriad realms, the celestial court fell into a great battle. Dressed in a golden-patterned white robe, Li Xuanmiao grasped a divine weapon, soared through the clouds, surrounded by figures of immortal gods. Following their gaze, the edge of the celestial vault was an expanse of extreme darkness, resembling the maw of an abyss, ready to devour the celestial court. Endless evil demons rushed forth from it, battling the immortal gods. The battlefield was vast and boundless. Numerous meteors swept across, attacking the battlefield above the sea of clouds, with various Dharma aspects emerging one after another, and gigantic magical treasures stirred the storm winds of the battlefield. From afar, Li Xuanmiao recalled the formidable evil demon he encountered when rescuing Li Ya, its aura equally wicked. It seemed during the dispute of the Sons of Heaven, the dark heavenly court had already begun its invasion. Li Xuanmiao furrowed his brows tightly. He could feel a powerful aura in that darkness unparalleled. Never had he sensed such oppressive momentum, so formidable that it roused his concern for the safety of the celestial court. He had yet to climb to a high position or change the hearts of the immortal gods. Would the celestial court collapse prematurely? Coming from the mortal world, he would never believe the celestial court was eternally indestructible, for he had witnessed too many ruling forces fall. In his view, no matter how the immortal gods embellished it, the celestial court was merely a more powerful force than the holy court. He took a deep breath, set aside distractions, and plunged into the battle ahead. During his flight, he distinctly felt himself passing through an invisible barrier. The battlefield ahead suddenly expanded. Deafening rumblings echoed from all directions. Boom! A terrifying gigantic fist materialized beside him. His pupils contracted, instinctively raising his divine weapon to block, yet he was still struck flying. During his backward flight, he gritted his teeth and noticed black holes appearing across the battlefield. The giant fist emerging from one such black hole, finishing its strike before retreating back, causing the black hole to vanish. Crimson lines swiftly appeared on his forehead, his aura surged. As he gripped his divine weapon, twisting his waist, he swung and smashed. Vast chi flames wreathed the gun's body, colliding just against another giant fist. Terrifying chi force vibrated the void, and a meteor 100 miles away was directly crushed into powder. Li Xuanmiao was engulfed in the battle, yet his aura and situation amid the entire battlefield were not conspicuous. Meanwhile, Guan lounged in the courtyard, snacking on seeds as he watched events unfold, cradling a book in his hand, feigning reading. Shen Zhan approached, commenting, "You're reading Green Hero Travelogue again. How many times must you read it?" Guan casually replied, "This is the 4th volume of the original. Long time no see, rereading brings new insights." Xianxia the Nefire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Shen Zhen pondered, refraining from further inquiries. She stood beside Guan for a while before turning to leave the courtyard. In recent years, she no longer sat idly in front of the artifact refining cauldron, often venturing out, yet her range of activities was still within the Taoist field of the beginningless. The artifact refining cauldron was extinguished, foretelling that Guan would not refine new Tao treasures. Guan sat in the courtyard, watching for an hour, before setting down the seed tray, then tucked the Green Hero Travelogue into his bosom. He stood up and stepped forth from the Taoist field of the beginningless to reach the depths of the hidden spirit palace. Deep-sea dragon carp established a dragon palace in the ocean, returning sporadically, with its clone managing the medicine garden here. He began harvesting mature medicinal herbs, with plans to conduct a lifespan projection later. At dusk, on a gorge overlooking the world, 2 cliffs stood no more than 10 yards apart, with a figure upon each. One was notably Xianxia from the beginningless. Xianxia wore a black shirt and white clothes, topped with a Taoist hat, exuding otherworldly charm, the sword box on his back lending an aura of chivalry. He furrowed his brows, gazing at the purple-robed man opposite, sternly stating, "Brother Lin, cease persisting in ignorance. The lives of cultivators are still lives. No amount of merit for mortal spirits can justify wanton slaughter of cultivators." The purple-robed man's gown billowed in the wind, his hair was disheveled. On his handsome and bizarre face hung a cavalier smile. Eyes disdainful, he chuckled. "How many years have we known each other? How many times have you implored me? Why implore again?" Xianxia drew a treasure sword from his back, pointing it at the purple-robed man, declaring, "This time, I cannot let you go." The purple-robed man shook his head with a smirk. "I've heard that sentence countless times. You can't do anything to me, why persist? Countless are the evil and deviant throughout the world. Why stubbornly entangle with me? This time is different from the past. I am soon leaving the celestial spirit great world." "Leaving? Where to?" Xianxia asked sternly. The purple-robed man showed longing, saying, "A place representing eternity, Brother Zhuang. In truth, I wish to take you too. Alas, our ideals diverge. You are destined not to fulfill such conditions." "Eternity? Does eternity require you to slaughter 9,999 celestial and earthly immortals?" Xianxia asked sharply, eliciting disdainful snorts from the purple-robed man. "Not one cultivator is innocent. It is merely a matter of who has killed more. Can you say you've never killed anyone or a demon? Are you truly unashamed in this life?" The purple-robed man glared coldly at Xianxia, questioning with a twisted expression. Xianxia snorted. "Unashamed? Hardly. But my shame comes from not having killed such evils sooner." With those words, the treasure sword in Xianxia's hand burst forth a sword light, illuminating the world, slashing towards the purple-robed man instantly. Boom! The cliff beneath the purple-robed man and the barren mountain behind him shattered, raising terrifying dust waves sweeping to the horizon, but his eyes did not blink. The sword tip was less than 3 centimeters from his eyes. So cool were his gazes. "Thus, Brother Zhuang, today let you feel the disparity between us. This is the first time I exhibit the eternal divine power. Should you not exert your utmost, you shall die. The voice of the purple-robed man echoed, unleashing killing intent that plunged the entire world into an icy chill. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. The disciples listening to the lecture were also awakened. They couldn't discern that the distant sounds originated from Xianxia, but they were curious and discussed in small groups. And Zizai stood up and said, "Well, stop here for today, I need to go out." With those words, he disappeared into thin air. Once he left, the disciples no longer suppressed their voices or curiosity. Is the distant battle related to the Wuxia disciple? Such a powerful aura. The fighters must have surpassed the Zizai immortal realm, right? The celestial spirit great world is vast. For the sounds to reach us from so far, the beings involved must have indeed surpassed the Zizai immortal realm. There's a terrifying aura among them. Just feeling it instilled a sense of hostility in me. Did you feel that too? The disciples engaged in heated discussions. Meanwhile, Guan in the courtyard was questioned by Xianxia. Who is Xianxia fighting against? With such commotion, the opponent must not be simple, Xianxia asked curiously, her pupils already reflecting the figure of the man in purple, though she couldn't discern his cause and effect origin. Guan, who was painting, softly replied, "That man is called Lin Songhai, born in this great heaven and earth, but he's embarked on the path of the sky." The path of the sky? What is that? Xianxia, curious about the undiscernible cause and effect, asked. Guan glanced at her and said, "You will know in the future." Xianxia pouted, thinking Guan was being cryptic again, but since he refused to elaborate, she assumed he had his reasons. The battle between Xianxia and Lin Songhai grew increasingly intense. Not only did the massive sounds of the heavens and earth reverberate, but fierce winds also swept across all directions, drawing more great cultivators to watch. Since the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance took control of heaven and earth, such battles rarely occurred. Great cultivators would always take their fights to the outer heaven to avoid affecting all living beings and incurring the wrath of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. Xianxia began to observe the fight seriously. Zhuangxian's capabilities did not surprise her, but Lin Canghai's divine skills left her incredulous. Lin Songhai was fundamentally no match for Zhuangxian. The Supreme Tao Mixed Yuan Plate suppressed Lin Canghai's countless divine skills, yet it couldn't completely defeat him. Every time Lin Canghai's physical body was destroyed, he would almost instantaneously resurrect nearby, and his fighting momentum didn't diminish with resurrection. Instead, it grew stronger. If this continued, Lin Canghai's momentum would reach the profound Yuan-free immortal realm. Sir the novel, At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. This was unreasonable. Chapter 820. Eternal God bathed in white light, Lin Songhai continued to tremble all over, looking as if in pain, yet the ferocious smile on his face seemed excited. He seemed to be anticipating something. The other great cultivators of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance also sensed something was amiss and took action one after another. One by one, streams of mana were cast onto Lin Songhai but were dissipated by the black aura surrounding him. All the great cultivators felt as if their mana was falling into an abyss, instantly cutting off their connection and leaving them unable to discern how deep it truly was. This made them feel as if facing a formidable enemy, prompting them to scatter and encircle Lin Songhai. And Zizai also sensed something was off with Lin Songhai and stepped forward, saying, "Withdraw your divine skills, let us handle the aftermath from here." Zhuangxian did not arrogantly hold back either, immediately dispelling the Supreme Tao Mixed Yuan Plate, only to see the black aura around Lin Songhai quickly converge into a black door as tall as 100 zhang, and as it opened from the right, waves of silver light poured out from within. An overwhelming might enveloped the entire celestial spirit great world, startling countless cultivators. In the boundless chain of mountains, a strong man meditating under a waterfall opened his eyes, his shirtless body adorned with 2 red dragon patterns that writhed. He lifted his gaze, frowning, with a sharp glint flashing in his eyes. He was none other than Son of Heaven Jie. This aura? Son of Heaven Jie murmured to himself, seemingly recalling something, his gaze becoming increasingly piercing. He was not alone. More and more beings of immense power were startled. Even the many dojos in the outer heaven could sense this vast aura. Before the world gate, the celestial spirit god opened his eyes, his gaze piercing through, looking towards the celestial spirit great world. What is that? Sar the Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. It was the first time he had felt such an aura. His instincts told him it was very dangerous, and he was certainly not its match. He did not rise to act, not because he was afraid, but because there were stronger immortal gods within the celestial spirit great world. Tai Immortal Monarch and the 72 immortals of Golden Cave moved swiftly, appearing before the black door even before it fully opened. Bang! Tai Immortal Monarch's right palm pressed against the black door, forcefully holding it shut. The appearance of Tai Immortal Monarch and the 72 immortals startled the great cultivators of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, and someone soon recognized their identities, exclaiming, "Immortal gods!" He seemed to be wearing a wide robe, with 3 heads and wild long hair, resembling a Rakshasa, horrifying and terrifying. When everyone saw this figure, they only felt an endless cold force hitting them, making them feel as if they were in a freezing cellar. Their greatest fear was losing control over their own bodies. No divine sense. No mana. No strength. It was as if their souls were detaching from their bodies, and even their souls could not move freely. And Zizai and Xianxia felt this too. Their eyes widened, cold sweat streaming down their faces. Their gazes were fixed tightly on the mysterious figure within the black door. In broad daylight, the mysterious figure standing in the silver light appeared so terrifying, bringing an extreme sense of horror and oppression to everyone. The great cultivators who had come to support were also petrified upon seeing him. For a moment, the heavens and earth fell into a bizarre scene, as people continued to fly in and then stopped, staring blankly at the black door like all the others. Lin Songhai seemed to have been drained of all energy, his arms hung down, his entire body swaying precariously, yet the black aura held him aloft, preventing him from falling. He only felt his eyelids were so heavy, trying hard to keep them open. His gaze landed on Xianxia down on the ground afar. Looking at Xianxia, images from the past similarly flashed through his mind. Brother Lin, seeking the root of disaster is a form of escapism. Do what you can do, that is enough. Xianxia's words echoed in his ears. A self-mocking smile tugged at his mouth. Indeed, it was a form of escapism. Lin Songhai knew he was never a good person. Helping mortal spirits was merely to fill the inner terror and unease, thinking that by doing so, he could balance merit and sin, in line with the heavenly Tao. But now he no longer believed in the heavenly Tao. He wanted to believe in the eternal path. He prayed in his heart to the eternal deity, asking to kill everyone present, but not to kill Xianxia. He never believed in the existence of true good people until he met Xianxia. Originally from Wuxia, Xianxia could have enjoyed everything. Yet he insisted on journeying the world, enduring so many hardships, doing good deeds that offered no reward. Xianxia, standing behind in Zizai, saw Lin Kanghai's gaze, and understood his eyes. But now he was powerless to resist, and compared to Lin Songhai, he was more worried about the calamity the mysterious figure inside the black door might bring. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 822. Myth appears. The question from the infinite divine spirit made the eyes of the great cultivators, who were immobilized, sparkle. Although many among them could not turn their heads to look at Guan, judging from the words of the infinite divine spirit, it seemed that a mysterious powerful figure had arrived. In any case, the presence of the infinite divine spirit made them feel extremely dangerous. If such an existence met its match, they would have a slim chance of survival. Xianxia's heart raced, nervously waiting for the ensuing battle. After a brief moment of unease, and Zizai's mindset returned to calm. He was initially nervous because of the instinctive reaction to the power of the infinite divine spirit. After calming down, he believed the infinite divine spirit was doomed. No one is a match for the ancestor. His gaze, although not as aggressive as that of Tai immortal monarch and other immortal gods, still made the infinite divine spirit uncomfortable. Did these ants think he would die? The infinite divine spirit thought displeased. Seeing Guan not responding, he immediately took a step back. However, an invisible barrier at the black gate blocked his steps, preventing him from entering. He was separated by just one door, yet he couldn't cross it, completely trapped within the heavenly Tao. The infinite divine spirit was greatly alarmed. Without a word, he leaped up, unleashing terrifying mana that plunged the entire celestial spirit great world into darkness. Everyone was startled by the sudden change, and at that moment, Guan raised his hand and grabbed across the void, making the dark celestial vault suddenly brighten. Lin Songhai, who was floating in the air, fell to the ground, and the black gate turned into black mist, vanishing without a trace. The terrible pressure enveloping the world disappeared, and everyone felt as if they had landed, regaining control of their physical bodies. The light and darkness changes just now made everyone a bit dazed. At a glance, the figure of the infinite divine spirit was already gone, and Zizai and Xianxia completely returned to their senses, vigilantly scanning the world in all directions. Ancestor, watch out, he might pull a trick. Xianxia, while searching for the infinite divine spirit, turned around. When his gaze landed on Guan, he froze completely. He saw Guan standing still, raising his right hand. In the palm of his right hand was a small black figure, struggling as if it wanted to escape his palm, but it was blocked by an invisible barrier and couldn't escape at all. The figure. Xianxia recognized the identity of the small figure. His eyes were fixed in astonishment. And Zizai, hearing Xianxia's half-finished words, instinctively turned around. When he saw the infinite divine spirit in Guan's hand, he too was stunned. Chapter 824, Reincarnation Battle. Master, do you hold the ancestor Master Wuxia in high regard? Su Han inquired further, his concentrated sword intent slightly unstable, with threads of sword qi dissipating outwards. But he didn't mind. His attention was already on his master. Zhan Qin responded, everyone in this world dares to respect him, and any words of praise are not enough. It was the first time Su Han had heard his master speak so effusively about someone, which made him imagine more about the ancestor Master Wuxia. Master, can you tell me the myths about Wuxia that you've heard? How about something I haven't heard before? I've heard that the ancestor Master Wuxia was born before the opening of heaven and earth. Was he human, or a demon? Also, how many disciples does Wuxia have? It's said that a fourth-generation disciple of Wuxia is coming to visit the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. The person hasn't even arrived, and the preparations have already begun. Su Han's endless questions left Zhan Qin no opportunity to respond. Once he finished his questions in one breath, he looked at Zhan Qin with anticipation. Zhan Qin slightly raised her head, revealing a pair of cool and beautiful eyes from under her hat, and glanced at Su Han, saying, consolidate your sword intent first, then ask these questions. I can tell you what the world doesn't know about Wuxia. Upon hearing this, Su Han became instantly excited and quickly promised that he would definitely succeed. Then, Zhan Qin closed her eyes and continued her practice, while Su Han also began to focus on solidifying his sword intent. In the blink of an eye, a month passed. Boom! A surge of sword intent erupted from the courtyard, scattering the clouds in the sky and startling the birds in the forest. Holding his sword, Su Han's robe flapped in the wind, and his long hair fluttered as well. He looked at the silver glow of sword intent on the blade, displaying a proud and excited smile. He turned to look at Zhan Qin, who was meditating on the courtyard wall, and said, Master, I did it. You can't forget what you promised me. This situation was not unique to the Su mansion. Countless young cultivators across the world were infatuated with and obsessed with the ancestor Master Wuxia. They wanted to learn about Wuxia and join him. Since that battle, whenever a disciple of Wuxia went out to train, they would receive grand treatment everywhere. And within the Taoist field of the beginningless, the disciples were equally excited and proud, though they couldn't see Guan. On this day, Zizai came to the bamboo grove to meet Guan, ancestor. How should we deal with Lin Songhai? After saluting, Zizai respectfully asked. The reason he wanted to remove Lin Songhai was mainly for Xianxia's sake. Chapter 825. Walking the invincible path again. After Guan carved a wooden figure, he set it down. Immediately, the wooden figure stood on the ground and started twitching. Its wooden body seemed to come to life, moving its limbs more and more agilely. Finally, the wooden figure transformed into a wood spirit. It looked the same as before, but it was clearly more vigorous and lively compared to before. The wood spirit waved at Guan and then burrowed into the soil, disappearing from sight. Guan smiled. He stood up, stretched lazily, and walked along the path. He was planning to find a new place to settle down and begin a round of lifespan reincarnation. Walking through the bamboo forest, he pondered about what attitude he should adopt for his upcoming reincarnation choices. If it's the same as before, it would be quite dull. Currently, lifespan reincarnation is no longer as significant for Guan's assistance. He doesn't need more secret skill, Taoist technique. For him, this function is more of an immersive experience, more real than lifespan projection, akin to truly experiencing reincarnation. Let him personally enter reincarnation and disappear for many years. He wouldn't feel at ease concerning reality. But lifespan reincarnation is different. He can experience a lengthy life within just 1 or 2 hours. After leaving the bamboo forest, Guan walked ahead as he always did, appreciating his dojo. The disciples he encountered kept their distance and respectfully saluted, not daring to approach or disturb. Within the Taoist field of the beginningless, the ancestors' dominance remained high. Even though Guan wore a smile, the disciples still felt immense pressure since their master and ancestor had instructed them not to show any disrespect before the ancestor. While observing the scenery along the way, Guan once again peered into the future of the beginningless. The future of anything contains numerous possibilities. The stronger the forces involved, the more extensive the cause and effect, leading to countless potential futures. With numerous disciples mastering vast powers, the future of the beginningless naturally becomes multifaceted, possibly different each day. For cultivators like Guan, no matter how varied the changes are, he viewed them without fear that the beginningless future might alter but merely to see in which direction it might change. The destiny changes in the beginningless allowed Guan to see in Zizai's efforts. And Zizai was worried that the beginningless might encounter troubles, becoming stricter with the disciples. Guan was neither opposed to nor supportive of Zizai's efforts. He simply watched quietly. And Zizai's efforts influenced the fate of the beginningless, which served as a microcosm. All beings in the world continuously exert influence upon each existence. Guan was not surprised. He chose Tai-Wei Earth Core initially to see if Extreme and Zhu Shi could interact. At age 9999, you felt your power on the verge of exploding, entering a profound mystery state to perceive Extreme Dao combat technique, condensing Extreme Dao fruit, eventually shattering the spirit stone and transforming into a human form, astonishing the holy court cultivators guarding around you. You chose a name for yourself, Extreme. In the same year, Xianxia visited, and you grew fond of her. You did not refuse her invitation to explore Tai-Wei Earth Core with her. During this period, Xianxia wished to take you as a disciple. A decision you must make. No. Agreeing would contradict the natural path. Wouldn't it? Guan immediately decided. Sir the Novelier. NET website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. You rejected Xianxia's offer of discipleship. Although Xianxia felt regret, she was not upset. She insisted on imparting you the cultivation method but was astonished by your display of extreme Dao combat technique. In the following cues, Xianxia guided Extreme through Tai-Wei Earth Core, visiting numerous ancient dojos and ruins. During which, Extreme continuously showcased cultivation talent and comprehension, astonishing Xianxia multiple times. Moreover, Extreme acquired battle armor and divine weapon, as if these treasures naturally awaited his arrival. Years later, Extreme followed Xianxia to the Taiwei Great World, entering seclusion for cultivation within the Holy Court. In just 1,000 years, he reached Zizai Immortal Realm, shocking the entire Holy Court. As a result, Xianxia proclaimed to the world, appointing Extreme as the Holy Court's heavenly strategy war god, declaring him a supreme treasure bestowed upon Taiwei Great World by the heavens. 500 years later, Extreme surpassed Zizai Immortal Realm, bidding farewell to Xianxia, wanting to explore the Taiwei Great World alone. Xianxia did not object. Within the Taiwei Great World, the Holy Court held absolute dominion. Extreme encountered someone in distress and decided to help. Consequently, the harasser wouldn't relent and was ultimately killed by Extreme, leading him to discover his lifespan evolution ability. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. At 18,372 years old, you encountered someone in the River of Destiny. Observing their extraordinary bearing, you challenged them to a duel. However, due to a large difference in Dao practice, you ended up defeated. The other party admired you and decided to teach you a divine skill. You learned the time-space technique. When you asked for their name, wanting to thank them, they left only their name before departing. You committed Lu Qixian's name to memory. Might this youngster have noticed something? Gu An and his reincarnation bodies shared similarities in appearance and physique. The last time he met Lu Qixian, he felt the youngster guessed his identity but didn't reveal it. Not only did they forgive Jis' offense, but also imparted skills to him. Guan felt even more favorably towards Lu Qixian, thinking he could possibly guide him more in the future. In the years that followed, Ji began to rigorously practice the time-space technique. As Lu Qixian had said, this divine skill was his only chance to escape. A century later, Ji mastered the time-space technique. When he first wielded it, he shifted to a mysterious dimension. Upon investigation, he discovered he had arrived in the primordial emperor domain. Greatly pleased, he decided to cultivate there and then seek revenge on that emperor clan. He first entered a city, inquiring about that emperor clan, but found no information. No one in the city was aware of that clan's existence. Unconvinced, he visited other cultivation cities, but again, no one knew of this emperor clan. Eventually, he heard of a great power who became an emperor, renowned across the world. He had heard this name before along the path of the great Tao. Based on time calculations, he realized he had traveled back 100 billion years in the primordial emperor domain, leaving him utterly stunned. Guan was also surprised. In a previous life, Ji had journeyed to the past, but it was only the past of the celestial spirit great world. This time was different. The River of Destiny stretched unimaginably far from the primordial emperor domain, spanning 100 billion years. Ji seemed to have a subtle connection with the path of space-time. Ji began to travel the world, and through years of understanding, he finally confirmed that he had traversed time and space. When he attempted the time-space technique again, it was unsuccessful. Instead of delving further into the time-space technique, he hid deep in the mountains and began cultivation. He decided to first attain the level of Golden Immortal before venturing the Primordial Emperor domain. He heard that the emperors of the Primordial Emperor domain were historically significant figures, which intrigued him and fueled his fighting spirit. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Upon returning to the River of Destiny, Ji was still unable to escape its bounds. There was a powerful force in the dark that restricted him, but he was not discouraged as it was this force that helped him evade the death calamity. What he needed to do was forge a path to life himself. He used the time-space technique again, arriving in another great world, which was unfamiliar to him. He was uncertain if he had returned to his timeline, but he did not care and resumed his path of battle. Seeking strong adversaries, challenging them, achieving victory, repeating the cycle. Just like before, initially, he caused much trouble, but as he defeated more opponents and never killed those without grievances, the beings of this great world began to admire him. Guan continuously faced choices, the process being very relaxed. Since achieving the golden immortal realm, Ji had never been embarrassed, defeating whoever he fought against. No matter how many enemies came, he could repel them. Indeed, it was defeating, not retreating. Guan could distinctly feel a forward momentum emerging from Ji, something that past reincarnation bodies like Xianxia, Longzhan, and Guxuan Yu lacked. After sweeping the world, Ji used the time-space technique once more. Unable to leave the River of Destiny, he continued to use the time-space technique. Wherever he went, he would conquer, and only leave when he had no battles left to fight. After sweeping through the 5 directions plane and great worlds, Ji achieved the Tai Ching Golden Immortal Realm. After 30 applications of the time-space technique, Ji attained the heaven-opening Daluo Immortal Realm. Finally, he could break free from the constraints of the River of Destiny, returning to the path of the Great Tao, and then he encountered Tai Hao. At the age of 2,379,662, you met Tai Hao, an old opponent. Tai Hao challenged you, and you sensed a strong temporal cause and effect in Tai Hao, realizing he might have experiences similar to yours. Tai Hao was also in the heaven-opening Daluo Immortal Realm, and you gladly accepted the challenge, commencing a prolonged battle. At the age of 2,379,694, your battle with Tai Hao led to the collapse of the Great Tao. At the age of 2,379,695, you finally defeated Tai Hao. Tai Hao was disheartened but genuinely admired your strength, conceding wholeheartedly. He invited you to journey along the path of the Great Tao together. Do you choose to agree? No. Having been sworn brothers for a lifetime is enough. Being Tai Hao's brother is a deadly affair. Guan decisively made the choice, secretly pleased. As expected of Ji, Tai Hao had been defeated by Ji a second time, even though it was clearly more challenging this time, but a win is a win. Far better than Guxuan Yu, whose greatest achievement was mutual destruction. You refused Tai Hao's request, and Tai Hao felt regret, agreeing to meet again for another battle. You gladly accepted, praising him as still your greatest opponent, which pleased Tai Hao, and you both parted ways. After parting with Tai Hao, Ji left the path of the Great Tao, planning to return to the Taiwei Great World. Upon discovering that time continued to flow there during his time travel, albeit not as quickly as during his travels, Ji returned to the Taiwei Great World and met Xianxia. Upon learning of his cultivation level, Xianxia was gratified, and Ji discovered that Xianxia was also a heaven-opening Daluo Immortal. Xianxia invited Ji to participate in a holy court meeting. During the meeting in the Grand Hall, upon hearing that someone from the Holy Court was captured by the Nine Divine Mansion, Ji volunteered, willing to make a trip to the underworld, and after a moment's hesitation, Xianxia agreed to send him to the underworld. Seeing the words Nine Divine Mansion, Guan couldn't help but think of Guxuan Yu's life. Encountering this force again, it's truly been around for a long time. Speaking of which, Guxuan Yu harbored a deep-seated enmity with the Nine Divine Mansion, persisting even to death. This time, let's see if Ji can avenge him. Before the Nine Divine Mansion, Ji declared his origins, but was expelled by their keepers. He chose to force his way in. Having stood for countless years, the Nine Divine Mansion was not easy to shake, as they also possessed Daluo Immortals. Relying on the time-space technique, even if unable to defeat the mansion's strong warriors, Guan believed Ji could escape alive. But Ji was tougher than expected. Even forcing out Miaozhen Daluo Immortal, he insisted on fighting, and that Miaozhen Daluo Immortal couldn't defeat him. Eventually, the pavilion master of the Nine Divine Mansion was alarmed, personally coming out to stop the fight, agreeing to return the Holy Court disciple, thus resolving the conflict. Afterward, the pavilion master invited Ji as a guest. Guan declined on Jis' behalf, but the pavilion master was too enthusiastic, holding on to Jis' hand, leaving him no choice but to agree. The Novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The pavilion master hosted a grand banquet, gathering many great powers of the Nine Divine Mansion to introduce Ji, praising him as possessing the potential to transcend and offering his daughter in marriage to Ji. Without waiting for Guan's choice, Ji directly refused. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 828. Breaking through the celestial court, the gentle breeze blew from the lake, causing Guan's black hair to sway. He watched as Ji emerged from the Nine Divine Mansion, a smile naturally appearing on his face. The pavilion master truly harbored ill intentions. After being rejected by Ji, he immediately ordered an assault on him. The so-called grand feast was actually a hidden trap. Unfortunately, despite all his scheming, the pavilion master couldn't keep Ji there. Ji not only escaped unharmed but also rescued the disciple of the Holy Court. Upon returning to Xianxia, Ji's performance greatly satisfied Xianxia, who directly appointed him as the Holy Court's undefeated war god, allowing him to enjoy the Holy Court's destiny perpetually. In the same year, Xianxia bestowed upon Ji an opportunity to ascend to immortality, causing Ji to hesitate. Guan declined on his behalf. The celestial court was filled with celestial Dao destiny, and the heavenly Dao was one with the celestial emperor. Guan didn't want him to be seen through by the celestial emperor. Xianxia felt regret over Jis' rejection but didn't force the matter. Less than a century after staying in the Holy Court, Ji couldn't suppress his battle intent. He bid farewell to Xianxia and embarked on the path of conquest again. He began to travel across the 3,000 great worlds, occasionally using the time-space technique to traverse the past and future. After leaving legends in the 3,000 great worlds, Ji ventured into various major domains. The Endless Dao Mountain, Immortal Cave Heaven, Misty Immortal Court, Ling Mountain, Golden Immortal Ancestor Tree, Taiching Deep Realm, Netherworld Deep Sea, and other places previously mentioned in the lifespan breakthrough hints appeared before Guan. Notably, Ji encountered the Celestial Buddha at Ling Mountain. The Celestial Buddha seemed to have something to say to him but hesitated. This made Guan speculate that he might have thought of the Emperor of Eternal Life. Ultimately, Ji and the Celestial Buddha did not form a close relationship. After staying at Ling Mountain for several months, Ji left. Millions of years later, Ji achieved the Miao Zhen Daluo immortal status. 100 million years later, under the siege of many Daluo immortals, Ji broke through to become a Dao Extreme Daluo immortal during battle, attracting the arrival of the Celestial Dao Venerable. The Celestial Dao Venerable wanted to take Ji as a disciple, but Guan declined on Jis' behalf. Even if Ji were to be killed by the Celestial Court now, he had lived enough. Fortunately, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the Celestial Dao Venerable did nothing improper. After being rejected by Ji, he left without a word. Jis' fame spread completely. In front of the Celestial Dao heroes, he announced he would go to the Endless Dao Mountain to preach. During the subsequent preaching, Ji surprisingly created a unique Great Dao destiny, naming it the Extreme Battle Emperor. It was recognized by the 3,000 Great Dao, its destiny imprinted on the path of the Great Dao, and Ji took the opportunity to describe the method of proving the Extreme Battle Emperor. Guan couldn't help but raise an eyebrow at this point. Ji actually created a Great Dao destiny as well. If so, doesn't that mean he pioneered two kinds of Great Dao destiny on his own? Is that even possible? Guan pondered, and at the same time, Jis' life continued. After establishing the Extreme Battle Emperor, Jis' opponents became fewer and fewer. Wherever he went, immortal family great powers invited him as a guest, which allowed Guan to witness scenes of harmonious conversations. Unfortunately, no one will always have smooth sailing. At the age of 2,532,167, one immortal god blocked your path. This immortal god called himself Son of Heaven Jueni, wanting to experience the power of the Extreme Battle Emperor. You chose to fight and easily defeated Son of Heaven Jueni. You did not kill Son of Heaven Jueni, but his departing gaze made you somewhat uncomfortable. Upon seeing this hint, Guan knew that Jis' destined calamity had arrived. No seeker could avoid the Celestial Court after becoming powerful. Guan's reincarnation body could not live forever. He would eventually die, and within the Heavenly Dao, death could only occur at the hands of the Celestial Court. The Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Son of Heaven Jueni. Guan glanced over, seeing Son of Heaven Jueni cultivating within the Celestial Court, who was now also at the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal Cultivation level. Among many Sons of Heaven, Son of Heaven Jueni's authority wasn't large, but his talent was outstanding. Guan only took a glance and didn't resolve to deal with Son of Heaven Jueni ahead of time, despite the experiences from lifespan reincarnation. After defeating Son of Heaven Jueni, Ji continued his travels. The Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal Cultivation level allowed him to overlook all living beings. Without considering the Celestial Court, not many great powers could rival him. Being invincible is lonely, so Ji chose to retreat in a domain, contemplating a higher realm. Until millions of years later, the world he was in was illuminated, and numerous immortal gods descended. An immortal monarch stood atop the clouds, proclaiming JIS sins, announcing that JIS reckless time-space travels had disrupted the order of cause and effect, waging wars everywhere, disrupting the balance across realms, and not fulfilling the obligations of a Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal. The Celestial Court wanted to capture Ji and take him to the 9 heavens for interrogation. Guan naturally disagreed, choosing to refuse. Ji engaged the Celestial Army in a great battle for the first time. Even with a Supreme Immortal led by a Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal realm, Ji easily repelled them. Soon after this battle ended, the Celestial Dao Venerable took action. The opponent was an existence beyond the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal level. Despite struggling with all his might, Ji could not win and ultimately escaped, using the time-space technique, albeit heavily injured. He arrived at a mysterious plane, found a realm, and began recuperating. By a twist of fate, during his recovery, someone passed through this realm and discovered him. This person was precisely Tai Hao. After a long absence, Tai Hao was also at the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal Cultivation level. He was delighted, but upon learning of JIS experiences, he too began cursing the Celestial Court and declared he would fight alongside Ji, deeply moving Ji. Guan sighed, thinking to himself, "Silly child, they are the leaders of the Celestial Court, deliberately coming to mess with you." Regardless of whether Tai Hao recovered his original memory, Guan already saw the ending. Ji and Tai Hao would die together. The Celestial Court didn't dare to deal with Tai Hao but would definitely create an opportunity for a one-on-one match between them. Guan continued to watch. After Ji recovered from his injuries, Tai Hao once again challenged Ji. As before, Ji laughed last, but this time, Tai Hao wasn't as disappointed. The two continued healing, agreeing to cause havoc in the Celestial Court once fully healed. In this lifetime, Tai Hao's sect was destroyed by immortal gods, which is why he hated the Celestial Court to the core. This is also why he was willing to help Ji. Due to this reason, Ji did not refuse his assistance, and both were full of heroism, believing they could penetrate the Celestial Court. They were entities that dominated within their realm, and now having reached the end of the immortal Dao, even against the Celestial Dao Venerable, their combined strength might prevail. 1,000,000 years later, the two stood before the Celestial Gate of the Celestial Court. Tai Hao expressed he was prepared to face death, but Ji was not seeking a death battle. He was full of confidence, believing he could win. Evidently, 1,000,000 years later, JIS power had grown once more. The great battle erupted. The two joined forces, sweeping through the Celestial Army, fighting from the South Heavenly Gate to the front of the Palace of the Polestar, ultimately forcing 4 Celestial Dao Venerables to combine into an array. In a critical moment, Tai Hao unleashed power beyond that of a Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal, forcibly breaking the array. Guan felt that the Celestial Dao Venerables seemed to be acting. Regardless, ultimately, Ji and Tai Hao broke into the Palace of the Polestar, seeking the legendary Celestial Emperor to impart justice. On the grand, majestic and lavish Palace of the Polestar, the Emperor's throne, representing supreme power, was empty. At this moment, a Celestial Dao Venerable entered the hall. In his palm, shockingly, was the entire Taiwei Great World, and Ji felt the aura of his old friends from Shenzhen and the Holy Court. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.